and welcome back to the Fast Life podcast, which is brought to you by my guys over at Simpson motorcycle helmets. These guys have been keeping my head looking good and staying safe out there on the highway for plenty of years now. You guys need to check them out at simpsonmotorcyclehelmets.com. And if you want to find out all the cool shit they're involved with, check them out on Instagram at Simpson Motorcycle Helmets. Today's episode is with my guys over at House of Harley. You guys have been hearing a lot about this brand lately, this dealership. They've been helping a lot of motorcyclists out, and they have a rad team, and that's who we have on the podcast. J-Rock is the mechanic who's been working on my bike up there for the last year now. Tommy runs the dealership, and then Alex has got a very important role. No, Alex runs the service and the parts department. So had a good time in Milwaukee as always, and looking forward to go back in about a month for the Mama Tried industry party that they're going to be having there. Details will be in this podcast. You should check it out. Well, let's get into these sponsors and then we'll jump right into this episode. House of Harley Davidson, located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is my go-to dealership. Their service department is top-notch with some of the most skilled and knowledgeable techs out there. When you walk into House of Harley, their entire staff is into motorcycles. And you guys know finding a dealership that's connected to the motorcycle scene nationwide is very rare. I'm stoked to have these guys on as an official sponsor of the podcast, and more importantly, because you can drop the FASTLIFE offer code on their website, houseofharley.com, which will save you nearly 13% off genuine Harley Davidson parts and motor clothes. Hit these guys up on Instagram, House of Harley, and they can answer any questions you have. And don't forget to check out houseofharley.com. My guys over at Lexan Moto continue to deliver top-notch quality products backed by the best customer service in the industry. The G16 is Lexan's flagship Bluetooth headset. It has a 16-rider comm system, music sharing, and the high-end Bluetooth 5.0 technology. Lexan has always been known for having some of the loudest speakers and longest battery life available. Head on over to lexan-moto.com where you can see all the awesome products and where you can drop the FASTLIFE offer code, which will save you 15% on all your purchases. Follow Lexan on Instagram at LexanMoto and stay up with all things Lexan. Thundermax Efi is your simple solution to getting the optimal tune for your Harley Davidson. A Thundermax tuner gives you the ability to add engine upgrades without having to find and schedule a dyno tune. And I've been running their computers on all my fuel-injected bikes since 2012. If you're riding an M8 touring model, then they have a simple solution to the high temperatures these models produce, their oil cooler fan. A simple plug-and-play solution to cool off the operating temperature on your M8 bagger. And if you're looking for a high-performing yet comfortable rear suspension, take a look at their iRide rear suspension and all the other products Thundermax has to offer at shoptmax.com. You can save yourself 10% by dropping the FASTLIFE offer code at checkout, which will go a long way on their products. And lastly, give these guys a follow on Instagram at Thundermax Efi. I have been running Electric Lighting Co. on all my Road Glides over this past year, and I'm a big fan of the looks and improved visibility I get from the shark tooth headlight. I'm also digging the 5-year warranty on the 15 different headlight options you can find for your Harley Davidson. And fresh on the market is their new red, blue, or gold LED headlight option, available in the 5 3/4 inch light and a 7-inch option, which comes with a full LED halo. Take a look at namscustomcycleproducts.com where you can find tons of LED lighting options in direct plug and play or custom applications. And lastly, drop the FL 2021 offer code to get free shipping on orders over $50 over at namscustomcycleproducts.com. S&S Cycles needs no introduction. Their high-performance engine components have been helping V-twins go faster since 1958. From exhaust systems to air intakes and everything in between, S&S has your back with everything you need to crank out some reliable power from your engine. Find out more what they have to offer for your V-twin over at sscycle.com. Also, you can catch their Performance Times podcast where they talk about their products and everything around the motorcycle industry. And lastly, give these guys a follow if you're not already at SS Cycles over on Instagram. Now let's get into it with House of Harley Davidson.
Hey guys, You ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
You know, you're like,
Put like a rubber band around his neck.
I know.
So it goes.
you're just like, so. No, it's, I'm not ready to leave. I feel like I just got here because I didn't get to do shit yesterday. Me and Steve had dinner, but being in western Wisconsin the whole time, it was beautiful out there. But then I got back here, it's dark, everything's kind of shut down. I didn't get to come to the dealership. We really didn't get a chance to go downtown at all, other than like me and him had Fuel Cafe today for lunch. But yeah, I feel like it was too short of a trip.
For some reason, I thought you guys were leaving Friday morning.
I think, I don't know.
I thought we were looking for someone for tonight, and then we were doing tomorrow.
Well, I was gonna try to do a podcast today during the day, but after yesterday's 300 plus mile ride there and back, I really didn't want to do shit today. I slept in. Then we showed up. We rode nut to butt on the way up here today.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was fun.
Bonding.
Whatever you got to do.
I was on a black Street Glide with ape hangers and a dude on the back. I mean,
Trifecta.
I don't.
Easy.
I don't know what else there could have been to get gayer. So.
At least you saw probably the best part of the state for riding.
Dude, it's amazing. They call it the driftless or something like that because of the glaciers.
Yep.
It's really fucking beautiful. And a caveat, so I grew up wanting to be an architect, so I know all about Frank Lloyd Wright. And I just always think to myself, like, I wonder if anybody in the world knows who that is. And I guess if you're from Wisconsin, maybe you know about him as like one of the most famous architects of all time. But since he grew up out there, which I didn't know that, but I'm passing through that town that he grew up in, I'm like, holy shit. You know,
that's like one of your stops, or you go on a freeway or highway and there's Frank Lloyd Wright's historic whatever here exit. It's like most people driving through are like, who is this dude?
Exactly.
But then you see some of his buildings
in the time that he built, when he built it was very modern for like the 40s
one
and
of his houses, he built like 25 minutes from where I live.
For real?
Yeah, Falling Waters.
Oh, that's that's in Pennsylvania? That's like the most famous one.
Yeah, it's Ohio Powell.
Wow, yeah, it's crazy. They don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
I'm on my phone figuring it out.
Google that really quick.
No, it was kind of cool. It was just like, first off, I was telling the guys at S&S, like, there's absolutely no reason why, being from Texas, I would ever pass through that area other than going to see them, right? Because it's not on the way to anything for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, even living out, on the east part of the state in Milwaukee, I would take a day off just to ride to the western part of the state, run Great River Road, north or south, on either end of the Minnesota or Wisconsin border, and you just kind of find these places and these roads and.
How's the north though? Like towards like the Green Bay and all those areas up there. Is it good riding?
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
Door County. Oh yeah.
You get into that kind of the thumb of the print of the state. Get into Door County. That's where my wife and one of our techs here and his wife went for the weekend.
So your wife and your tech here went together?
And
how's that
his
work?
wife.
Oh, okay. Damn, what's it like up here?
That escalated. We got the housewives here, so all the wives get together, and it's usually a shit show when they all get together and spend the night. So it gets out of control pretty quick, and then we have to take them home after they say one more, and that's three more. So it's bungee cords to the backrest and throwing them in the car seat and getting them home. But it's pretty. I mean, a compliment to how well this shop is run and organized and the culture of this place. But we can get into that topic later. But yeah, Door County is awesome. You get into that kind of that thumb if you're looking at the state. That area is great. This time of year, the colors are changing. They've got fall festivals going on up there.
Saw a shit ton of pumpkin patches.
Oh yeah,
that shit was pretty cool because they're so bright on like the backdrop, and it's like, oh, this fucking. Why does this do something? I feel like I needed pumpkin spice or some shit.
Run to Starbucks.
Yeah. No, it was cool. It was a good time going out there, but it was cut short because the days are getting shorter. You know what I mean? So I had to jump back on the bike, try to get back here, or at least get back to the main highway
Right.
before it got dark, because there was a few dead deer on the side of the road, and I was like,
And it's not a short ride there
No.
either. I mean, you can huff it pretty good to Madison and then get off there and take county roads and back roads the way you did.
Madison looked pretty. I didn't go through it, but just the towns around it. Like I went through one town, like Waterloo or something like that, and it's not. I know it's not the name, but it was like riding through their downtown. It's like they have, I guess, weed's legal here too now, or how does that work?
No.
Well, they got signs on the
Like CBD and
I guess.
that's
They're
probably-
doing that like Delta 9.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And then, but I mean, like obviously the bars out here, they're everywhere, and they're like part of the neighborhoods and the community. So
Yeah.
They're staples, man.
they are. I fucking love that shit. I was going through these back roads in like this town of like 500 people. There's still a bar there. I'm like, it's a necessity. It's like police department, fire department, bar.
Yeah, it's-
You know what I
it's-
mean?
Sunday is church, breakfast, bar for the Packer games. Especially this time of year.
And they, like I have one by the corner by my place, varsity something, and they stay open for third shift. So when I'm coming to work at 8 in the morning,
Yeah,
they're stumbling out of the bar.
that's
They
awesome.
got off at whatever 5 in the morning.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's nonstop.
Well, this whole year's been pretty good for you guys. I mean, you guys stepped up with the Jiffy Tune situation,
Mm-hmm.
so that came through with that, and y'all built a bike in how many days?
2.
2.5. Yeah, when you add
20
the
hours.
So how did that all go down? Like,
Well, Lindell, we jumped on with sponsor.
Mhm.
Paul called me, and his dad. So Eric's dad was driving out the bike with his trailer, with everything, his race world in it, and a leak from the transmission sparked the truck, took it down.
wow.
By the time he got to call Eric, it was done. Paul had sent me some pictures within that hour, and we had the bike that we were donating. So I called Eric and said, "We got a bike, man. We can figure it out."
Yeah. What were y'all gonna do with the bike? Was it gonna go to him anyway?
Yeah, it was
okay.
his backup bike.
Okay.
Was the plan, and we had not shipped it yet. It was still here. So he said, "Man," he goes, "I'm just trying to, let me get my head around this." The next day, he said, "Hey, man, Harley just reached out, and there's a chance they're going to give me a bike." I said, "Well, let me know what we need to do. Just let me know." Well, I don't hear from him from another 24 hours, and then I said, "What's the plan?" He's like, "I'm jumping on a plane. I'll see you in 4 hours." Still didn't know the plan. Picked him up from the airport. He kind of filled me in on who contacted him, what they had told him. So he just got out here. He still didn't know the plan. So we were just hanging out. He finally got the call. They said, "Come to Juneau. Brand new Road Glide, 131R motor, Kraus front end, swing arm." I mean, they went above and beyond to get them done. So I think we got the bike here about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and
had it tore down by about 4 o'clock.
yeah, with
in the
like
afternoon.
he basically Eric just put his hands up and backed up. Alex, Jay, Harper, I mean, everybody attacked this thing, and then it was tweet, figure it out. And you donated your old pipe.
Yeah.
We had to wedge cut it, bend it just to get him some clearance, which obviously wasn't enough. The goal was to make sure he got on the track to get his points.
Yeah.
And dude, it was all hands on deck, man. I think you guys are at 10:30 one night,
10:30,
11 o'clock one night, and then it was find some decals, figure it out. I mean, it was crazy.
Because the race was the weekend coming up, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was on the way up here.
So
Right.
then he gets on. Was trials Thursday?
Yeah, I think Thursday was like a practice, and then Friday was time trials, qualifying. Saturday was like another second practice and time trials, but it was like Saturday or Friday he had issues with the tuning, and then Saturday he had issues with going out to the first practice and the front end was locking up with the brakes, with clearancing and the hubs and stuff, and it was just every time the bike went out on the track there was something that was causing an issue.
So they literally came in and they were tuning. They were writing the map basically in the dyno room, and they never shut off the tilt sensor. So in his first practice lap, he went down, I think in turn 10, and then went back out and went into limp mode. So hour and 20 minutes away,
Mm-hmm.
we'd bring the bike back.
Serious?
Yeah, and they had to come back in and figure it out because what a lot of those guys did is they put the trike tilt sensor in there, so they didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So they came back in, figured that out, got it back in the trailer, back out to the track. All at the same time, we're having a Harper's going away party.
Mm.
Like, it was crazy. It was a crazy weekend. Then we got out there. He completed the race.
Yeah.
You know, that was the goal. You could tell he wasn't comfortable. I mean, he said it. Riser, everything's different on that bike as of now. But even when he leaned into turns, it was skipping him right back up because of the clearance.
Mm.
He beat an Indian.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, he did beat
Finished
it.
Out there doing the Lord's work for us.
He did. But no, it was one of those when silver lining, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the dude lost his tools. I mean, everything he had ready for races, it was gone.
Yeah.
And Harley stepped up, man. It was pretty impressive.
Are you impressed with how they've managed to, because after the first King of the Baggers last year, I think all of us Harley enthusiasts were like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Because you didn't really have a Harley presence other than the Vance and Hines bike. And then, the other two Indians were just out there fucking murdering, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch flat track the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Indian
Probably
comes out with
still
that
is.
FDR. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like with Harley pulling out, it seems like the flat track scene is kind of tapered away too.
Well, didn't they come out last year and say they were pulling out of all racing or something like that?
Right.
And then now, obviously that was bullshit because now with the race team, the Screaming Eagle team, I mean, those bikes killed it on that last one that we saw them on.
Mhm.
What, wasn't it Wisconsin?
Yeah, it was Road America was the last
So-
one that they were at because they had was a Kyle that went down in his superbike race after the King of the Baggers race at Motor
Mhm.
America and busted his elbow or something like that, so he couldn't race at
He did
Laguna?
race.
VRL though.
No, it was Laguna Seca
Right.
was after us. So he clipped his elbow on a super bike here.
Mhm.
Yep.
Nasty. You seen those x-rays. But they took first and second here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something really good.
First and second, and I think Vance and Hines was third.
There wasn't an Indian on the podium?
Not
Here?
here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it Barnes' bike or no? HBI's bike went down in the end of that race or something like that. I don't
It was
remember.
3 Harleys made
Yeah.
the podium.
Yeah.
But dude, those 2 bikes those guys are on,
Yeah.
they're $130,000 bikes.
Easy.
They're nice though. I mean, I
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. 130. We have a buddy that's on the race team,
yeah.
and he's a super technical. He's motocross, and he does.
Mhm.
He's like, man, there's $130 in each of these bikes.
Do you think they'll pass? What's the thing? Void the warranty if they plug it in?
Yeah, I would say. I think so. I think they flagged the VINs.
Yeah.
The VINs are already flagged. Might have flagged. I
Yeah.
don't know. Hopefully, they go tire and wheel. I mean, it blew me away to see those things moving as fast as they are, and just getting into those turns like they do.
Yeah. When I was talking to SNS yesterday, they were talking about the experience of being in Laguna Seca for the first King of the Baggers and just how at first they were the joke and then they became the oh shit what is this doing to me, like, you know what I mean, like it was coming over to people as they were watching this race in the pits, right? The power coming around, like even though they want to say that the leader bikes were doing about 20 seconds faster on the track, it wasn't like 2 minutes faster or something retarded. I mean, these bikes can probably they might not ever get to that 20-second right with them mark, but I could see them shaving maybe another 10 seconds off as they get these bikes more dialed for the track and get more parts available and more experience on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you're still wrestling around probably another 200 to 300 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have the top end horsepower that those bikes have.
Yeah. But with this,
Yeah.
so I rode the Sportster S here, and that's not a girl's bike anymore.
No.
I mean, it ain't for me, but it's like, it's fast as fuck, man.
That thing is it blew my socks off, man. It's not a entry level bike anymore.
Mhm.
It's not. I can't imagine taking someone out of riding class and saying, "Hey, let me get you on this new sports." Yeah, that's a wake up call, man.
Well, I was telling Steve about it, and I was also, my only thing is like it feels very metric. You know what I mean? It feels very metric when you sit on it. it doesn't feel as metric riding, but the riding position, I guess because the riding position's so shit, it's classic Harley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Bent in half. I got to modify this thing. Yeah. That's they even went back to like the metric blinker style.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I don't hate the thing. I was impressed. I mean, like I said, you mid controls, 10-inch bars, more comfortable riding position.
Yeah.
You know, you could probably get out and do more on it. To me, it shot me onto the back fender, and I had to reconfigure my brain real quick because I realized I wasn't on a Sportster anymore.
Yeah.
That was a different machine.
It definitely has that puts you back, you know, like you have to hold on really well. Yeah, the riding position, though, like I don't know who the fuck got on that bike and said, we're good, run it,
Yeah.
send it down the line.
You know, I think that they have to do it on purpose. I mean,
Yeah, but like, God.
they're like, this is awful. Put it out there, so they got to change it, right?
Yeah, but I hope they have a plan because, I mean, the triple tree, like we were just looking at, it's a riser combo where it's all together. So unless you put like literally like like a gap extender and then put the top clamp up and then like a long screw. Like that's the only thing I could think it would do that to other than just doing a completely different triple tree. And then where the foot controls are in the front, it looks like one of it's mounted to like the actual motor, or I think it both is, right? Isn't it like the motor is kind of like a stress member for the bike? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
I mean, we tear them apart. Visually tear them apart. Obviously, we get to the point where we get to tear them apart. But there's a lot of that bike that I don't know. There's a lot I like, and there's a lot that I need that has to come off that bike. I'm excited to see what the industry does with it when people start getting their hands on it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I talked to
Denton says he was going to get something, right? Yeah.
Denton's got something good.
He had a little rendering done that looked like it was pretty dope. I was like, okay, yeah.
You hope that bike stays modular to where you can take that and a 13-inch or 14-inch shock, like what we're doing with Softails now, lifting up the rear end, doing something with the front. Because I think one of the biggest things with that bike is people see how big the tires are and how low the bike is to the ground. And it's like, okay, well, it's a V-Rod or it's a FXDR or, you know.
It definitely has that feeling.
It does.
That really, really bad riding position FXDR style.
Right.
And V-Rod for the most part. But it's like every time Harley comes out with something with a lot of power, they put this riding position that just doesn't coincide with the type of bike that it's on, you know?
Agreed.
And like I said, when I rode it, it was fast as fuck, but I was literally scared because I didn't feel like I was in a controlling position on the bike. I felt like I was just holding on to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So,
especially, I mean, that much power in that late of a chassis, and then like you're saying, you're kind of folded over into a V, trying to keep your hands from going crazy, holding on to the bike as it's taking off. Mm-hmm. You can't hook your toes underneath the foot peg like you're doing wheelie.
No, I mean, it's interesting. I think next year is going to be pretty interesting with the leaks of the new S hopefully coming out and things like that. And then would y'all say like possibly that you said that motor in a breakout chassis?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
Rumors going around Milwaukee all the time. It's hard to confirm or deny.
That is.
Right. But,
I neither confirm nor deny these words.
You know, that motor's coming. I mean, it's like anything else with Harley, right? Once you see it, you know it's coming. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of when and how fast. I'm excited to see if they put that thing in a bigger frame.
I hope they do. With that kind of power and that whole setup, you would think that they would have a modular option for this Sportster S to kind of give you that FTR, because it would 100% compete with an FTR. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And they just need something like something higher, taller suspension, because it's so low to the ground, like an FXDR or whatever the fuck it was, and a V-Rod. So it needs taller suspension to get the frame a little bit further from the ground, and like rear sets or fucking mid controls. Yeah. Then it wouldn't fit. If it had rear sets, it would feel like a sport bike. It'd be fine.
Yeah, and then you can lean on the front. You can go right instead of trying.
You'd have your feet would actually keep you from flying off the back. You know.
The visually, I mean, that FTR, it's about the visually.
Yeah.
It's the only Indian that I look at and go, man, that's a nice bike. Mm-hmm. Everything else to me just looks like a knockoff Harley.
Yeah.
But
Hear that,
that's
Kyle?
where they got to.
House of Indian.
That's where they got to go. You know, the travel on that suspension is great.
Yeah.
So they're, you know, I like when new stuff comes to market like that. The exciting part for me is to see when everybody gets their hands on it.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm waiting for. And these things hit the ground in dealers here in the last 12, 14 days tops.
Yep.
So within, what are we in October? By December, we're going to see what people are doing with them.
Are you stoked to have to break into those motors when they come around? Or have you had to do anything internally on these on the motors yet?
Not yet.
So nothing on like the Pan America.
I've been lucky.
Yeah, we've seen a few. There's a few that have graced the Facebook pages of guys having to go pretty deep into them, but few and far between. I think on the motor side, some electrical gremlins, but
Yeah.
to be expected.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. I feel like if you're like a proficient Harley mechanic, that motor is like having to learn how to work on a V-rod, which is, how hard is that? Is that complicated?
V-Rod is not for everybody, so to speak. There's complications for every engine. Be real about it. You got specifications you got to keep and tolerances you got to maintain. So it's just another engine. Once we tear into it and figure it out, sky's the limit, really.
That's what I've been wondering is like with the Pan Am, obviously we've had that on the market for most of the year. You figure that motor bolt patterns are going to be the same for exhaust. Yeah.
I would think.
You would think, right? I mean, it's going to be a mass produced down the line, so I think.
I don't think Harley is going to make too many things where they have to make everything individual. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of it's going to have to be either a light modification difference or.
Different baffle.
Because that's
or
what I'm thinking
something.
is if people obviously have gotten their hands on the Pan Am and been able to start mocking stuff up and tearing it apart, it should just convert over, right, to the S, you would think.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's going to come into play is that the Pan America has so much ground clearance and this S doesn't. So, like, certain exhaust systems might not be
Like some
feasible.
rally points and stuff.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, you pull that fucking massive cannon it has for an exhaust system off of it, and you actually get to see how this, it's almost like that exhaust is the frame. It's how big it is, but you pull that off and you might be able to really get an idea of how you can modify it and how you can change some things and figure out like a new, it's just going to take, I guarantee you by January, someone will have one decked out, T-barred out, fucking, it's got a fairing on it, it's got rear sets or mid controls or something,
I was thinking how nice that bike would look as a kind of more of a supermoto.
Yeah.
So clean off all the plastic rack on the back of it, the rear foot peg mounts, ditch the plastic fender off the front, and just super clean. I think that bike was a good set of like.
It's almost like if you took the bike, put a narrow glide front end on it with a narrow front tire, or even a Pan America front end on it with the smaller rim. Because I hate that fat tire shit. That's just it's so bulky and I don't know. It just looks goofy to me. But I mean, I don't know. It feels like the Pan America front end might be the one to go with and just have some trees. Hell, at least the Pan America, you can get some risers for it.
Yeah, 22-inch rear shock, though. They'll probably level that thing out.
22.
Or just
you have to
+6 shock extension.
Yeah, you have to just kind of wonder if there's going to be like enough swing arm, like what do you call it? Like if it can pivot that far down.
Yeah.
It might only be able to go a few more inches before it hits them. Like a lot of swing arms on the baggers, once you raise them up, they start hitting the transmission pan right there. So
even on like the soft tails, they've got kind of like a notch in that frame where that swing arm extends fully, and most of the guys go into an extended shock. I think we did it on your soft tail, just shaving that piece off of the frame just so you have that extra bit of clearance for when it tops out.
So how's everything been with the? You guys finally released the G bike, and it seems like it's done very well across.
What bike?
The G bike.
Never heard of it. Just kidding.
I mean, we that's what we worked on last year for the paint for it, and it finally made its debut in
Loretta
Lynn's, which was in May, right?
Yeah, it was in May.
Yeah. So.
The bike's great. I mean, it was. Kicking around a concept like we talked about last year, and seeing it come together without, and I've said this on other stuff, without having all the pieces and just kind of having your fingers crossed, hoping it's going to work.
Yeah.
It works, man. I wish I could ride it more. But we looked at the numbers today. What I say it was 150 torque, 142
Horsepower.
Yeah, something
And
like that.
that was a top end, right? Not a crank up or what?
That's rear wheel.
No, I mean like the build. Was it a 131 crate?
Kit.
The kit, yeah.
So it was
We did.
basically a build from the base up.
Whoops.
So 521 cam, fueling, T-man breathers.
T-man breathers, fueling race series, plate pump, 521 cam, all the extra goodies we tossed at it.
Yeah, it took a life of its own on. Obviously doing it as a tribute to Willie in Milwaukee helped that. But once like the guys from the museum seen the bike, a couple of the corporate guys seen the bike, the article dropped in The Enthusiast, I believe, this morning. It's really just been a momentum. It's done it by itself.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I had a pretty good painter. He was good.
Oh, that guy.
He was all right. I mean, it worked itself out. But it's a showstopper. I mean, a lot of people, we put it by the ramp during a rally just to make room. But I think I'm going to leave it there because it stops everybody in their tracks to stop and look at it. I got to keep it.
Yeah.
I got to keep it. It's one
Well,
of
it's you got Willie to sign the rear fender, and then I don't know. It was just cool seeing that he was able to see the bike in person, and I don't know. I think that's pretty cool how it was done for him and everything. I don't think anybody else of us across the country would have thought of doing some kind of tribute bike to a individual in the Harley Davidson history, right? Because here it's like part of the culture. Like so many families have worked for the Harley Davidson brand at one point or another that are from Milwaukee, so it's kind of really ingrained in the city and everything. So when you're here, you probably think more about the history than we do on the other side of the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's part of the infrastructure of the city. I mean, and to be blessed, I remember the day I showed Bill Davidson the bike. I had asked him, I said, "You got a minute?" He goes, "You're the guy that built the bike for my dad." I said, "Well, I'm the guy that kind of thought about it,
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I got a couple minutes." Dude, he was 30 minutes. And then asked me, "Can I take pictures of it?" Yeah, you can take pictures of it. And then I ran into Karen in Sturgis. I was able to show her the helmet, and she was blown away. And then during the V-Twin show during the hometown rally, Willie was there, and he went out and looked at all the bikes, and I was able to talk to him later. That's mid-afternoon, and he was stoked, man. He's a funny dude. I told you he said, "Man, you engraved those tires?" I said, "No, they're stickers. I don't fucking tell anybody." That was, to have that conversation where it was 10 seconds to 20. It's just it's just cool, And then I have a friend, Tim Budzine, who works for Harley, and after the guys that would come in the store would get the progress. For the most part, we actually kind of kept it covered downstairs, so it didn't kind of get pictures left out, taken out. And showed Tim, and he was like, "I'm gonna make some calls," and had the enthusiast contact you.
Nice.
And they were awesome. We did about a 20-minute phone interview with them. Got the pictures done, sent over, and they only do one print issue a year. And unfortunately, it was the Sturgis. Well, unfortunately, it didn't make the Sturgis edition. With the print. So, actually driving to work today, I jumped on the app, and there it was, man. And it's humbling,
Yeah.
It really is. It's a huge corporation that took the time to look at something we did.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think that next year, if these leaked models come out, I think that people will start to maybe feel a little bit more confident that Harley is listening, is paying attention, and is trying to get something to market quick enough before the scene changes. Because everybody knows about the Rocker, was the Rocker C or whatever. Like, that was obviously too late.
Right.
The Lowrider S was pretty much on par. It could have been earlier, but it came out good enough. Things are still hot with the Dyna market and things like that when it came out. So, they haven't done the worst job in the world. We still all buy them every day. And have a podcast about it all the time. So
Right.
Yeah, and even the models they've pruned out, you know, I think they've chosen correctly.
yeah.
You know, it's like the Deluxe went away. You know, I think all the 107s have gone away.
Well, the Deluxe, like when it came out with this new Softail M8 platform, it just wasn't the kind of Deluxe that I would want. Like I think of Deluxe, I think of like a twin cam or Evo shovel kind of vibe, floorboards, and I'm choloing this bitch out. That's what I want to do with the Deluxe.
Conventional lighting, and you know the M8 platform with the Deluxe went with that contemporary turn signals and passing lamps and all that stuff, and it just, I think that personally, that's what took that bike away from me being interested in it.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, you know, Steve built a really dope ass Deluxe a couple years. That's when I first met him, he was on a big wheel Deluxe.
Yeah.
So those things, or was it Deluxe or just a
No, it
Softail?
was a Heritage. Classic.
Heritage. Yeah, I don't know. I like those bikes, but I like that style on that bike, and I think that the M8 was just a little bit too much performance, air quotes. Apparently, it couldn't go low enough on one aspect, like they couldn't get it to drop. So it wasn't really for the slam the bike kind of crowd. And then, of course, we just talked about how you can't really raise them too high
Right.
because it hits the swing arm and shit. So I don't know.
And to be honest, if they might have kept it on the market for a little bit longer than the monoshock air ride systems came out. And that's when you do that. That's what you end up doing with
Yeah.
Deluxe. But yeah, that's always one of those bikes that look I always want in the collection. Just
Yeah, I
to
do.
chill
I
it
agree.
out, you know, some fishtails, not crazy, but just to cruise. you
Yeah.
know? I mean, that's it.
Those bikes still look good. I mean, like, you know, I'm. That's the one thing that sucks about it. People think that I only like road glides with T-bars on it. It's like that. Like I have no taste for anything else. And you know, people come to me. It's like, man, I don't ride a fucking road glide with T-bars, but I got this really nice sports stroke here. I'm like, dude, is it cool? Like, fuck it. I like any kind of bike. Just because I don't own one doesn't mean I don't like it or whatever, you know. But it's there's a lot of good shit out there. What the fuck is that?
Oh shit.
His wife's calling.
No.
Hey, G, I'll send you the Samuel Jackson picture. You can send it to her.
Yeah. That'll go over real well.
Look, anytime your old lady starts running her mouth at you, you just hit her with that. Oh, Black Snake Moan Sam Jackson lets her know. Dude, that might be another helmet right there. That's just, that's actually,
That's a good one.
that might be a good one. I don't know, because I was telling you earlier that I was thinking my next helmet was going to be Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
And just I'm a huge basketball fan, especially from the 90s. I don't really follow it as much these days, but I think, you know, after watching that Last Dance documentary, did y'all ever watch that shit? Dude, it's fucking worth it. If you grew up at all in the 90s or remember Michael Jordan, watching that documentary was
The
like,
Netflix one, right?
yeah, it's on Netflix.
Sounds good. Well done.
Yeah, well done. It kind of exposed a little bit of Jordan because he was like America's,
Right. He couldn't
Dude.
do any wrong. Walking
Yeah.
on water.
yeah, they did a good job covering up all his shit. So, but no, I was like, man, they had that section of Dennis Rodman on there, and I was like, looking at it then, I didn't see all the how cool he was, right? Now watching that back, I was like, this motherfucker would just skip practice, go to Vegas, rent a Harley, bang Carmen Electra, and
then show up for the game.
then show up for the game and grab 20 rebounds. Like, that dude's a badass, man. Like that shit was cool as hell,
Talk
man.
about a trendsetter.
Yeah.
I mean, he was way before his time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was before tattoos were, you know.
yeah.
fucking
I mean-
low hair, cheetah hair. I mean, they were out there, but nobody in professional sports really were, especially
Now, like, most basketball players look like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It was
most
Rodman.
rappers dress like Dennis Rodman.
It was Rodman and then Iverson. Right?
Yeah.
Then that who broke the mold, so to speak. But that was well done.
It was a really good thing.
It was. But what hairdo would you do? Cheetah hair?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I usually do the pictures in black and white, so it'd have to be something that would translate, you know, in black and white real well. But fuck, that Sam Jackson looked good though. Dude. If you were walking by and that was hanging on the handlebar, then it would just hit like oh shit.
Fuck you, look at that.
You looking at me?
We got to give Samuel Jackson the fucking credit, man. He has played so many characters in his lifetime, and I mean, done a pretty fucking good job.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nick Fury from fucking Avengers and all that shit, and then you turn around and get Black Snake Moan and Pulp Fiction, fucking
I had motherfucker.
Snakes on a Plane or whatever that fucking was.
I don't know if
He was on Die Hard. Remember Die Hard with a Vengeance? The third Die Hard? He was on that.
Yeah, he ran around with it. Bruce Willis all the time.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. But, hey, motherfucker, you still have that helmet, right?
Yeah. I can't get rid of my
That
helmets,
was like
man.
one of your first.
The first one.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's I was actually thinking about wearing it up here, but it's pretty wore out on the insides and shit.
Is
So
that like big wheel day?
no, that was like the end of my big wheel days. I had built that blue Dyna that I was running around on because I met you. Actually, when I painted my helmet, that Samuel Jackson helmet, and I came and bought that FXR from you, I had just finished that helmet the week before.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so when we drove down there to pick up that FXR, like, that was kind of like when I first did it all. So, good times. That's why you need some of that T-Sport, man. We need to keep this shit going.
T-Sport.
That perfect one that you got.
I'm sitting in the back corner of the warehouse,
Yeah,
all
it
tucked
ain't
away for
doing
nobody
that.
to see.
Someone's cutting wood next to you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that tomorrow.
Man, that'd be
Yeah, I don't
fun.
know what I'm going to do with that thing.
That's kind of unfair, the kind of deals that you guys get come through the dealerships. You know what I mean? Like, people that just don't know or care about what they have, they just want to get rid of it, or, they really want the new thing, so, it's kind of fucked up, but it's okay. I won't tell anybody but these people listening.
That was one of those meant to be deals.
Yeah.
Like, Kevin grabbed me and said, man, you got to see what's coming off this flathead. And through the windows and motor clothes, they're tinted. It looked like the J. Crew.
Yeah.
The Ram out there, and it's luxury blue, which is fine. And I just started asking the guy questions, man, because it was too clean to not.
Yeah.
I said, what are you doing with it? Oh, it won't start. Oh, you want to sell it? It was the second question out of my mouth. And he called me back the next day.
Yeah.
There was a story to it, man. The reason it's such low mileage is he bought the bike to ride with his wife. His wife passed away.
Yeah.
He didn't touch the bike since. He got this itch to get it running again. So he got it brought here. And, after talking to him the following day, him telling me the whole story, I told him, I said, man, if you call me next week, next month, next season, and you want to ride this bike, just let me know.
Yeah.
Because it's the right thing to do. The guy had a history. It was a very sentimental part of his marriage. And, he got me teared up. He was teared up. And that's kind of why it's down there sitting. I'm not going to do too much to it. Just get a pipe and some risers. Because if he calls me, I'm going to let him take it. We'll ride it, man. That's, 4,752 miles on a 20.
Rubbing it in. Just rubbing it
And I
in.
think, what was it? It was a blinker.
TSM or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't. The bike's fine.
Yeah.
And
Those like 2000 to 04 Dynas are fucking bulletproof, man. I had a T-Sport. The only T-Sport I've ever owned was I got from a dude out of Houston, and it was in the flood. I don't remember which hurricane it was. Andrew, I think, or fuck, I don't know.
Oh, they flooded so much the last couple of years.
It's the big one that happened a couple of years ago where everybody was going down there to basically help out and shit like that.
Yeah, I remember Beaumont lost all their bikes in that one.
Yeah.
In the store, they lost their bikes.
So it was in that flood. It was in the flood, but the bike had 120,000 miles on it. Didn't have the bags anymore, but it had the original fairing and everything worked. But of course it was flooded, so I was like, well, shit, fuck yeah, I'll take it. I only paid like $3,000 for it. And took it to Mark took the motor to Mark, said, hey man, break this open, see what it is. It had rust inside the motor, but it also had like damn near a perfect run out for 120,000 miles.
Gee.
Those Timken bearing motors just, I don't know, there's something about it. So, of course, still had rust on it on the inside, so we pretty much had to, get rid of that. Well, I was gonna try to do that bike, but then man, when I'm building like another bike, like a Dyna or FXR or something like that, if things don't happen quick, I lose interest really quick. This champagne beer is pretty good. High life shit. But no, I want to get another bike. I feel like buying this recent bike, you guys got me a good deal on it. It finally put me in a place in life where I'm actually liquid on a motorcycle now, which on a road glass, especially a new one, like I never thought that would ever happen. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been trading in and then getting this one, then trading it in and getting that one and shit like that. So,
Titles are cool things to have.
Yeah. Now I traded a title for. I've never like financed a car before, I would always just finance bikes. That way I can get newer, nicer bikes. And now I got a financed Jeep, and then I own a 2020 Road Glide, so it's very different,
Yeah,
But-
it's, you can't pass those bikes up when they come across.
Mhm.
Like, you really can't. I mean, it didn't matter really what number the guy would have thrown out. I probably would have took it.
Yeah. I mean, if you can afford, I mean, right now, if someone had one for 10 grand, and I had 10 grand, I'd buy it, 100%. But it seems like every time I have 10 grand to spend on something, there ain't shit out there. You know what I mean? It's clapped out ones for 12 grand.
Right.
I know what I got, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Do you though? Do you really know?
Really.
Where are the bags? I don't have them. Then you don't know what you got.
Got a half sport.
Yeah. I've even seen people that they're T-Sport frames, like they're T-Sport numbers, but they don't have an actual T-Sport fairing and all the shit. They'll have like a JD or a Conley's on it or something. And they'll still have the trees and everything, but it's just none of the shit works. It's like, bro, like, I'm not going to give you 10 grand for this bike and then have to go find this fairing for $2,500. Like, you don't know what you got right now.
Yeah.
You got a DX is what you got.
That depresses me when you see those that are just torn apart. It's like even when we see a lot of FXRs come by and here it's like, oh, I sold it.
Yeah.
What? I didn't like it when I bought it, so I took it off. So you bought a P and you took the bearing off and you bought it. Like,
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling but here you see a lot of them.
Well, I think up north, like, people store their bikes a lot more than down south. So you probably get someone that put it away for the winter and then just kind of fell out of interest over the winter. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So-
We still have bikes that we stored last year that are still in the shop.
For real.
real.
Shit.
Yeah, we got three. We got three. What is it? A V-Rod, a Road King.
So CVO V-Rod, a CVO Fat Boy, and a Road King that was built by Clockworks back in
Yeah.
mid 2000s.
Carbon fiber wheels on all of them.
Yep, carbon fiber wheels, inverted front ends,
Everything.
everything. I mean, these bikes are minimum $35,000-$40,000 when they were built. And it's a doctor that moved back up north from Texas, and he's got 2 BMWs motorcycles that sit in his garage, and then he's got these 3, and they haven't left in 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was like that Duraglide a couple years ago. That thing was downstairs for what?
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
Like mint.
Mm.
Like on a lift rack. It was, you didn't want to touch it, but it was here for 2.5 years.
Wow.
You know, it's just a lot of old bikes here that people keep. We have one guy that, is it the same customer that bought an ad? No, we have an old Harley employee. He bought what seems like every model anniversary, every anniversary. And I think he sent 2 of them here.
Oh, Tierlink.
Yeah.
He was actually one of the 8, was it, that purchased back Harley from AMF.
Mm.
So he's passed. His wife has kind of taken over handling these bikes, but it's 2008 Ultra, 03 Heritage, and he's got like a 98 Heritage Springer, the white with the red piping on the
Mint.
oh my god.
Did they drop a T-Sport anniversary?
Yep.
Like, so with the stickers and everything on it?
Yep.
That'd be the gem right there.
Black.
What do you think those go for?
They're actually, I seen one pop up a couple of weeks ago, could have been August. Didn't have the bags, had the original fairing, had a ton of miles, and the dude was still asking about 13 grand for it.
God damn.
Yeah.
Then you try it. Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Yeah, if you come across one of those, Minty, that's
I don't want to talk about them on the podcast anymore. I want to try to lower the
Yeah,
value of those
damn
things.
you, FXR Dynatrader. That's all I'll say.
you know,
That's crazy.
I mean, but you think back of the bikes that you wish they still made, right? That
Yeah.
obviously is one of them. You know, FXRs are obviously another one of them. But what else falls in that category? Because like going to the museum,
Yeah.
and look, like last year we did, looking through those racks, I think there's 17 FXRs on those racks.
Yep.
And
It's weird how, like, the ones that do stick out and become the ones that we really want to keep, because we all probably have our different, like, J-Rock probably has a different of those Harleys in the past. It's like, I would do anything to keep one of those. For me, it used to be a Nightster. I used to want or a Night Train. just a nice, clean night train. That was the first Harley I ever ridden in my life. So I was like, and this was like 05 and 04. I think they were doing the night train or something like that. So I was like, I want one of these.
Yeah. I came back from MMI, and my neighbor, who was a coworker of my dad's, had a 03 black with a silver pinstripe Sportster 1200 custom and a black night train 03 anniversary. Clean as hell. I should have bought that damn bike. I could have bought it when I came back, and I didn't. It's one of those. It got away, and I regret it.
That's also back in the day when an anniversary year came around, though. They made every model in an anniversary. Like,
They don't do that anymore, do they?
No,
No,
they
they
just
don't.
selected models. Like, if you pull up an 03 model list, there's a couple that aren't, but mostly every model they put out, they put an anniversary. I mean, I think they did an anniversary FLHT.
That was 100-year, though. That was a big one.
Yeah.
You know, so what's the biggest one we got coming up?
120 and 23.
Damn,
Yeah.
fucking old.
120. So 28 will be the 125, but
That makes sense for it to be 23. And if they were to drop that really fancy touring model that we keep hoping that happens, that'd be a perfect year to do that, wouldn't it?
it would. It would. I think they're going to make a lot of changes with the anniversary rallies up here and the in-between years. Because on an anniversary year, this city it's swamped. And then your in-betweens are weird. Like, most people don't know there is a rally here on the in-between years. And they did a good job this year with putting some funding behind it. They kind of, COVID and fear and everything else that falls into that shit, they were behind in promoting it, in my opinion. It did well, but next year they're planning on, which is not a anniversary, you know, the way the new guy said it. He goes, every year's an anniversary. It's a birthday every year. So we celebrate every year. I'm down. I just need, you know, we all need Harley to put it on the menu, right? So where I talked to him last year was they started promoting the rally August 1st for September 2nd.
Yeah, people need more time to plan.
Everybody has booked their summer out, their vacation time. I mean, everything Sturgis is, you know, you got Sturgis and you got Pig Trail and you got some other little ones, but as far as big ones, Sturgis is it. And, you know, from what I see and hear, they're gonna try to make this a big rally in the likes of Sturgis and Laconia, and I'm down.
I mean, they can definitely do it, and there is riding here, so that's a good thing. And then you have the Harley history. The town has a lot. You know, there's plenty. It can happen. You know,
Right.
But
I think the biggest thing from you know, a dealership trying to host and support a rally is being able to hit up vendors, you know, well ahead of time and give them the heads up of, hey, this is what's going on. You know, this is what Harley's got going on, and this is how we are going to do things. What you can expect from us when you get to town and when you come to our dealership. You know, we've gone through whatever we can and done whatever we can to make this a destination, just as much as a museum is, just as much as going to the plant of a Pilgrim or going to Juneau. So that's the biggest thing, you know, from a dealership point is making sure we have something that, you know, like Outcast Culture, making a trip from, you know, East Coast, or SBC Performance, all the guys from Drake Specialties, all those guys that are coming here, you know, making sure that it's worthwhile for them just as much as it is for us. You know, we love having anybody here that shares what we do and kind of shares the passion of the motorcycles that we have. But we need to be able to say it's going to be worth your time coming here, and not just, hey, come here now so that in 2-3 years, you know, it'll be worth it. You know, so I mean, for Harley to step up and say that this rally is worth coming to every single year, that can only help us and make.
As long as
the
they
European
keep
going
pushing
bigger.
it, and they don't put all the weight on the shot, like the dealerships like yours and other ones around, to kind of, you know, be
carry the load.
Yeah, carry the load of the fun and things like that. I mean, you know, there's a lot of big things happening here at this dealership. The parking lot seems to be getting bigger for certain things that might be happening. And I could see that being a huge help to things. You know what I mean? Like, if if that place goes in next door like it's supposed to, then this could be even bigger of a destination, and you won't have to worry about supplying beer and things like that anymore, you know?
Yeah, it takes a huge load of our events off. You know, I told Harley in a meeting, and it's just the wise ass I am. I told him straight up in that first promotional meeting for the rally, I've thrown keg parties with more notice than you're throwing a rally. And they looked at me and laughed, and I was like, oh, I'm serious.
Yeah.
But I think they understood after, you know, Yakin, Jay-Z, whatever they call him, I was able to sit in on a meeting shortly after our rally. He's got big plans, man. And I think he's not a bullshit guy. Right? Not saying the guys in the past were, but he's got plans and he's pushing them. And I think that hopefully, you know, new bikes drop in January, and hopefully they release all of their rally plans for the whole entire year.
Yeah.
I would, right? Here's new bikes. Here's the rallies for the year.
Yeah.
Make your plans. You know, it's like bringing the specials out after you ordered at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, I know that was on the menu, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I ordered that. You know, here's a cheeseburger. So it's one of those. But you know, here we're busting at the seams, and it's a good thing. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, stressful. But Jeff, he's proactive. That dude is proactive. I mean,
Yeah.
He's bought 2 lots to expand and just keep moving. You know, and I think what they do that parking lot in like 30 days.
Something like that.
Knocked the house down, leveled it. It was done within 30, 45 days at the most. To have it done for rally.
Like
Yeah.
500 dump trucks full of dirt.
Yeah. So rally started on a Thursday. They were laying asphalt the Saturday before, and we were good to go. And then he was out there making it happen.
Nice.
But you know, I've been in worse situations.
Yeah.
You know, and now with us, it's, you know, we're 2-3 weeks out from. I mean, it's still nice out. It's still in the 70s. People holding onto their bikes, but here, we say 2 weeks. We have over 200 reservations for in the storage already.
Yep, we're creeping towards 2. I think we got 25 bikes here already.
Yeah. So we'll end up with 1,000 bikes in storage going. You know, and then end of March, depending on the winter.
So, you know, Mama Tried got moved. So I heard Mama Tried is going to be in December and then again in March. You hear about that?
I haven't. I know they typically it was like Valentine's Day weekend every year.
So, well, yeah, like March, February, something like that. So basically what I heard, and this could be wrong, but I heard that it is happening when we're planning on it in December. But then they got their original dates back for next year.
That's going to be hard to pull off.
Yeah.
That is. I mean,
I'd have to confirm it, but like I said, this is through another source, and I forgot to fact check it or whatever. But because I mean, if they were to release it, that it was going to be in February
I
as
think
well.
they did that already.
It's almost like, well, if you are going to get your old dates back, then just fucking do it then. And
Yeah, bump it back.
yeah,
Like they're still. So the invited builder list for this year is
still the ones from
2020. So
Yeah.
they're trying to
play catch up.
play catch up, but also hold their commitments to who they invited. Me personally, I like a winter show. That show and that weekend would probably pull 10 times more if people could ride. Obviously here, and it wouldn't be a bad thing to put during the rally, right? At least for exposure, but they're their own niche. I get it. But this year should be cool. I mean, Flat Out Friday is 12-3, so 12-3, 4, and 5 for that weekend. It's a fun show, man.
So does the rally does Mama Tried take place on Saturday or Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, Flat Out Friday is at Pfizer, so where the Bucks play. Obviously Friday night. That's always a fun time. It's cool. What do they do? Like Dr. Pepper or Coke?
Yeah, they basically take the
Dr.
Syrup.
Pepper syrup.
lay down on concrete and
That seems like it'd take a while to get mentally past that.
Yeah,
To trust that my bike's gonna stick.
I think it's fun to watch. I mean, they're in a tight space, and I mean, especially like the pro classes, the hooligan classes are fun to watch. I mean, that's what draws the biggest crowd. But the pros in their open class pretty wild. And I've been inside the inner part of the track the last couple of years, and it's tough to keep track of. It's banging bars. I mean, you've got the guy coming up on your inside, putting a tire on your leg as you're leaning into a corner. Crazy. It's fun to watch.
Sounds sketchy. That's what it sounds. So here though, have you got the details worked out for the plan here?
Mostly. I got, I don't know, I'm going to say I'm probably 75% there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what the setting will be. We have a bunch of confirmations as far as, companies coming, like Mark from Lexington called today. Outcast is coming. You guys are coming. First Manufacturing's coming. I think that Tim's coming out. Pat. Jeremy's coming out. So, lucky. Basically, man, we're trying to put everybody in the industry in one room.
Yeah, so it's like you haven't quite figured out the name yet, but it's essentially going to be an industry party that the public is welcome to come to as well, right?
Absolutely.
And it's going to be here at the dealership, set up, beer, food. Is it food too?
Yeah, we're going to either do a food truck or we're going to have a grill out there. And
Cheese curds.
Yeah, cheese curds.
Cheese curds.
Deep fryer outside.
Yeah.
Cheese on everything.
Cranberry juice.
Yeah, cranberry juice.
Industry party, open to the public. I mean, you got a bunch of listeners that would love to come up and shake your hand. I know you love when that happens.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and then, guys that have seen like Jeremy's paint sets, Steve's bike.
Yeah.
Get to meet the guys from Lexington. These are, just one of those where I'm going to clear the floor, put out couches, just come hang out, man. That's it. I think if you put magical people in a room, magic happens.
Yeah.
Right? And this scene and industry, you have everybody coming to one town. We'll throw the bar up down there, throw somebody in the corner, acoustic. I don't want it to have to be speaking over the music party.
Yeah.
Just come in, man. Have a good time. It's like I was telling Mark today. I said, I ain't pushing nothing. Everybody come hang out. Shit's just going to happen. And it might not, it might be for us.
Yeah.
You put two people in a room that have heard about each other for 5 years. You never know. Jonathan's coming up. Denton. Jeff will be in town.
The Vex Cycles guys will be here.
Yeah, Van's going to come in. He confirmed today. I got a whole list.
I think it'll be a good time. It'll be a good chance for Wild Mama Tride's taking place. So you have the show, you have Flat Out Friday. There's so much going on, but you also have, we can all come here and congregate and kind of have like a little bit of like the performance motorcycle scene.
Absolutely.
present at the deal.
Absolutely. I mean, especially Mama Tride's a great setting.
Yeah.
And if you've never been to the rave, it's kind of, I think that building has been there since the early 1900s. It was like a men's, like a social boxing club.
Yeah.
It's it reminds me like the old
First thing you
Muppets.
do about Fight Club is you don't talk about it.
That's right. But
It's a checkers club. Sorry, checkers.
It's one of those where it kind of reminds you of like the old Muppet Show because it's got those balconies that go around the room, and it's a really cool building. And then everybody's got a home base, because you could walk around there. I mean, you could spend 9 hours in there.
Yeah.
And every level they got vendors, but to break away, come here, have a couple beers, meet people that you haven't met, look at some stuff. It's just, I think it's a perfect opportunity to just put everybody who's across the country, that might see you once a year at Sturgis, in a room where there's not 100 things going on.
And there's still this place is 300 miles from a lot of major places that I know I have a lot of listeners at. So, from Minnesota all the way down to Nashville, I mean, this place is not that far.
Yep.
So
absolutely. I'm excited. It's one of those I'm still trying to piece it together. But on Saturday, the 4th of December, we're going to have an industry party at House of Harley. It's going to be from 2 to 9, 3 to 8, something. We're going to have beer. We'll try to get sponsors for everybody to come drink for free or something. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah.
But I figure by the end of the month, we'll have
call them on
details.
Tucky.
Yeah.
I got their number out. You'd have to probably talk to them about what you want, but I'm trying to get that company to be more into the motorcycle world.
How they haven't sponsored you yet?
They've given me beer, but we've not moved past that. Like, I'm on first base. I want to fucking
Koozies next.
I want to finger them, man.
They should pull up a truck to your spot, man.
Man, it's tough because they're a lot of companies, man, have gone very PC or very woke in a sense, and I don't think that Montucky, like them proper, like the owners are that way. I feel like maybe people that run the country probably feel that way, and they're playing it safe on those Accords basically, and it just, you know, like you look at their Instagram and they're into heat wave visuals and fucking, you know, mullets on dudes and all this shit. That's the same thing in our industry, except we wear black t-shirts and they aren't. So that's really the only difference, you know. We're tattooed and having fun and partying and drinking beer and all that shit, and that beer is a good representation of the vibe that we have. But just take the fucking politics out of stuff, man.
Yeah, take the fear out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the gay cans with the fucking unicorn on it.
I bet if you started wearing like pastel colored shirts, and some loafers, you'd be in.
Fuck yeah. I need to do something like that. I got faith in them, but at the same time, it is what it is. It's also hard when you start working with bigger companies like that. I feel more restrained on what I can say and how I can say things, and you know, I don't want to wake up one day and get 4 phone calls saying, "Yep, we got to cancel you, buddy." You know, so I'd rather work with people that I got shit on. Cancel me, motherfucker?
Hold on, let me put.
We're gonna shut down Facebook and Instagram today because I know something.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, it'll be fun here. Milwaukee, December 3rd, 4th, 5th. Basically,
4th, 5th, yep.
Be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm bringing my wife up, so she hasn't never been up here in any of these cities. Like, I think the furthest she's been to Florida, so that's as far as you can go east. But she's never been north of Florida. She's never done any of this shit. St. Louis, you know, Nashville, none of that stuff. So bring her out, do some stuff. I feel like I've been pretty selfish traveling this whole country the last couple of years, and we just go to California and back every year, the same spot. So.
As long as you guys, you got winter jackets, right?
Yeah, I mean, being a thicker man, I like to layer up so I don't feel as fucking naked. You know what I mean, and hide the belly a little bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. It'd be a nice chance to kind of come up here. You know, I love this place up here, and I have not been here. Wow, this is the coldest it's ever been since I've been here, right? And I don't want to move here or anything like that, but I do just want to experience what it's like to be somewhere while seasons are actually taking place. Yeah. And even though I know that the real snow doesn't start falling here until probably the end of December or January. Okay, so
it's hit or miss, man.
I'll be down. I don't care. I'm not scared of driving in snow. I got a 4-wheel drive.
We've had Thanksgivings where it's 1.5 foot of snow, and then we've had other Thanksgivings where you're out in t-shirt and shorts throwing football in the backyard.
Yeah, that's kind of Texas weather sometimes.
Yeah, down there we get all 4 seasons in one day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I remember riding to work and full on everything, and then
there's snow on the ground. Yeah. This flurrying a little bit, but like weather says at 4 p.m. it's gonna be 70 degrees. So bike night might still be going on tonight.
That was like what was it, February with the ice storm?
Yeah, we call it Snowmageddon.
Snowmageddon. I was there. I went home for 4 days and got stuck for 13.
Yeah,
but that was I enjoyed it, right? And granted, the electricity and not having water, yeah, it was a pain in the ass. But when it snows down there, that was snow.
That was real snow. Yeah,
because you get a 1/2 inch of ice down there and they shut it down.
Yeah,
and this was 7.5 inches in my front yard, and no one would drive, so no one would go out. But I went out.
No gas anywhere. Yeah. I worked every day, but it sucks because they would do rolling blackouts every 15 minutes. So it's like everything was shut down and come back on, and it was quick. It was like off and on, off and on.
They told us in Austin they were going to do that, and then they turned it back on 4 days later.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have rolling anything. And then as soon as my power came back on, the water went out.
We were where I live. We were good. My house never had anything go off. We were good. So it's like, I wanted to complain like everybody else. I was like, dude, I need something to complain about. And everything was good on my end. I was like, fuck, man. Yeah. Like, I was going to blame not getting work done on this, but I'm here every day working still. And
I got caught in HEB's parking lot doing donuts and comical. So I'm doing donuts and I hear the siren. And I was like, I'm fucked. Cop pulls up, rolls down his passenger window, and leans over and goes, "Son, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm doing donuts, sir." He goes, "You want to stop now?" I said, "Yep." He wouldn't get out of his car. And then, like, it was that what freaked me out is I was seeing Toyota 4Runners stuck in ditches.
Wow.
Pickup trucks, 4-wheel drive, stuck in ditches. It's just a different world. Like, different fucking
I was driving, so at the time I had my Lexus, which was rear-wheel drive. It was a GS. So I would take my wife's front-wheel drive Jeep every day because, it's easier to drive front-wheel drives in snow. But, man, I don't know. It was a wild one. I mean, that was definitely – we'd never had snow stick that long. Like, usually it'll come around for maybe 2 or 3 days. For a solid week, we had snow on the ground. Like, and every night it would lay out. It would pack on some more. You know what I mean?
The temperature stayed.
Yeah, it stayed below.
Yeah.
It stayed in the teens as the highs, and lows it was always in the single digits, which is crazy because you guys, are used to that shit. Like, what is it usually like right here in the wintertime? Like, always in the. Do you ever get? Is it below zero a lot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Usually month of February. So you get into like end of December, everybody's kind of like, all right, we're getting through this. End of February, there's 2 to 3 weeks where it's below zero, negative 20, 30 wind chills for like a week straight. Everybody's fucking miserable.
Y'all still gotta go to work?
Fuck this
Oh yeah,
shit.
we're still here for the most part.
Why?
1,000 bikes in storage, man.
Why not?
I'm going on almost 5 years here. We've shut this place down once for weather, and it was negative 52 degrees with the wind chill.
Wow.
And we shut down 2 days in a row.
That's like they make movies about that,
Dude.
where like the world is frozen, and like
Day after tomorrow.
yeah.
I'm from
Yeah.
New York. I've never even experienced anything that cold. I remember Jeff calling me. He goes, "Man, what do you think we should do?" I said, I don't know. I mean, you guys working this shit? He was like, "No,
Is anybody walking in the store in those kind of temperatures? Like, I think we'll go check out a Harley today.
I went out on my porch just to experience it, and eyeballs, nostrils frozen instantly, and that was it. I went back inside. So no, but negative 50
there are people-
2 days in a row, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There are people that live further north. It makes no sense.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I think the temperature was like negative 20.
How bad does it get like in Calgary?
Fuck, no idea.
You can text Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird.
I messaged Roy. He's up in Alberta.
Yeah.
But those dudes, they're just used to it. I mean, even when I was talking to him over the winter, he was riding. He's like, "Yeah, it's 20 degrees." I don't know if that was Celsius, but either way, it was cold.
It's
But he's like, "I'm going out riding
60.
like, as soon as he finishes his bike build."
Mm.
Well, then you get up here to school though. I mean, there's a culture for the winter for
Yeah.
motorcycles. So I mean, they're all out there ice racing and doing their thing.
Do you feel like drag racing still has an allure to the Harley Davidson culture? I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist and it's not cool. I am saying it's not that cool. It just seems like something that's not very popular amongst this younger generation of bikers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I got some. I mean, we know some guys, customer of ours, that are doing it. I mean, Joe's got like 170 horsepower road glide
Yeah.
that he can't, but but he's an older guy.
Yeah.
He's older than I am, so that's old school there. But no, I don't see any young kids out there doing it. I mean, I think more exposure to a younger crowd would probably bring that.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like some. I mean, I know HPI has been pushing the drag race stuff, and I know that there've been people there, but it's like when you see the recaps of it or the footage from it, it's usually like Sea Bear doing a wheelie down the drag strip. It's like it's all the drag strip's good for.
Right. We got Great Lakes Dragways 45 minutes south of us. They do bike nights, I think once a week or once every other week on like a Wednesday. And there was a time where we would take, 12 to 15 people, half of them from the shop and half of them being customers, just to do an open track night. And that went for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year kind of was like, all right, now it's like 3 or 4 people from the shop and maybe 1 or 2 customers. And then it was just 1 or 2 guys from the shop that would go down there and see who was racing.
Mm-hmm. Was it Harley's racing a lot or more sport bike stuff racing?
Yeah, I mean, it would be,
Combination of
probably half a dozen sport bikes and 10, 15 guys on Harleys.
a couple of sleds,
Yeah. Can you grab me a High Life? What do you think about it, J-Rock? You're a horsepower nerd.
Well, honestly, I don't.
It's expensive because you break shit.
It's a very expensive habit.
Yeah.
Transmissions aren't cheap.
Right, Steve?
Yes.
Right.
I'm learning.
So I try to stay away from the track because I don't want to continue to have to fix my stuff when I'm trying to fix everybody else's stuff.
That's the weird thing. You know, I was talking off air with S&S about this because we were talking about what racing is popular amongst not necessarily younger generations, but even like mine, like that 30-year-old crowd. Like, there was a time when I was really into drag race when I had a sport bike, and then I even put my Harley on the track a couple times, but like it's so much more expensive to do that stuff, and there's not much of a I know there's a Harley drag racing, I know there's like Top Fuel bikes, there's all that crazy shit, but it just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm saying me, and I'm not trying to say everybody, but I just wonder, is it?
Right. I mean, you look at cost of entry to get into, like a Top Fuel or Nitro bike. That's crazy. That's, high level sponsorship type of stuff. But then you look at, I mean, me personally, I look at like HPI's Sturgis Shootout, and their, kind of their entry classes. And I get, you can't make 20 classes for the Sturgis drag race setup, but it's like, where do you fall into where I'm above the, the 124, 128 class, but I'm not a 160 plus non-horsepower or non-power adder type of king of the streets type of guys, where those dudes have, 40 grand into a motor and a chassis.
So you need to take that S out there, that Sportster S, and just
stomp on it. Hit that traction control.
Imagine when those guys hit that thing in the flat track.
That's going to be wild.
It's going to happen.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. I just don't know how. I grew up in drag racing. I grew up on the track on a sport bike, but I also grew up with a family who we went to the track on the weekends.
Right.
My stepdad was into whatever muscle car of the time, and he, trade a CD player for a big block or some shit, back in the 80s.
Every time you go to a car cruise or something, I had one of those, and my brother had one of these, and same with my dad. But
drag racing was like all that they did back then.
Right.
You didn't, like Le Mans and all these other type of racings wasn't very popular amongst the Midwest.
Right. Well, you also had, 1,500-pound four-door sedan with, 500 horsepower. It probably didn't turn that well anyways. So, that's went to cruise night and talked a bunch of shit until somebody wanted to line up and drag race.
Yeah. I remember growing up, and I remember the street racing scene was so fucking fun. Just the adrenaline, like when the cops come and everybody breaks out. But it's like, it was crazy. I remember the first time I ever went to a street race and the cops came and broke it up. It was like the first time I saw people, like, not, just like, I'm running. You know what I mean? Even though the cop's not right behind you. Right. But there'll be times when the cop is behind you and you're just like, I thought you were chasing him, so I was running. I've never gotten pulled over during a race, like street racing and shit, but it was just always exhilarating. It was almost as fun racing as it was when the cops came and everybody scattered like fucking roaches when the lights come on.
Count on them coming.
Yeah. It got to a point where we got confident. We just like let everybody leave, and then we'd be the last ones because the cops never would pull anybody over. They were just breaking it up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But
like Maston say, man, if you see me running, you should probably run too.
But yeah, that was, I don't know. I loved drag racing growing up, but street racing is different because people would line up anything. A Ford Focus and a fucking Ford Escort. Fuck it, run it.
Right.
I got something on the Focus. You know what I mean? Like, people didn't give a shit back in the day, I think they still do it now. It's like we were racing baggers around the track, and we're all like, what? Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
I think did they release the 2022 schedule? Have you seen anything on that for next year? Because I think they're supposed to add races, which I think they did last year, and then they pulled.
Well, they had to pull some back. It's really expensive for the Moto America, from what I understand from everybody I've talked to, is very expensive for the teams to race. And then at first it was 5 races, and I think they dialed it back to 3 or 4.
3. I think it was Atlanta, here, and Laguna.
Okay. So they dialed it back to 3, which is more manageable. But fuck, these people are going through massive amounts of parts, because a lot of things on these Harleys are not quite built yet for the track, for those extreme braking,
Right.
extreme transmission stuff. It's like it's gonna hopefully build better products for us in the years to come, but it's still not there yet. So, they're having to spend a lot of money running through motors, running through transmissions, compensators, clutches, brakes, tires.
We were getting phone calls from corporate employees asking for compensators on Friday and Saturday at testing while they were up at
Yeah.
Road America.
Rossmeyer told me, I forgot what it was, but I said, I'm pulling off the shelf and bringing it up tomorrow. They ended up, I think they went to Appleton or something. I was closer to get it, but what was impressive was out there was watching Harley's booth. I think they tore those motors down twice on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Back out on the track. To watch the pit crews work was super impressive, and that's when you go out there, you see who's got the advantage, right?
Yeah.
Because you got Roland out there with the Indian. I mean, they got a huge trailer. I mean, Harley's setup was the size of a service department. Then you had us.
So they're pulling motors out and like redoing bearings and all that shit. Like they got there with a lathe, just fucking truing them and shit.
Oh no.
It was pretty impressive. Actually, I want to say Steve told me that at one point they swapped the motors in the Wyman's bikes. Like literally, one was downshifting, their timing. You got to see the data they're able to take while they're riding, and they literally swapped the motors at each bikes. They said, this one's better for your riding, this one's better for your riding. So don't ride each other's bikes, just hang tight, we're going to swap your motors. Now get back out there.
Nice.
And it was impressive, man.
That's a Netflix show I'd watch.
Yeah.
100%.
But, absolutely. And then you had, who else was out there in that race? You had Daytona had their bike out there.
Yeah.
You had your Indians.
You had Barnes on the DTF
Yeah.
HPI bike.
Zach Nation. I think that was his first race.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was impressive, and you can tell what the people were there for. Like everybody was buying the Wyman shirts. I mean, they were hovering in that area, and then right behind that was all the super bikes, which everybody's still interested in, but they've seen it. So this is something new, and it tickled them, and they were.
Like I said, I mean, because it is new, because it's fun, and because it's relatable to a lot of people right now, it's probably got it'll probably get a good run over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe, if they keep putting it into it, and before it kind of flattens out and maybe becomes like super bike races has become, But these bikes, if they get too spaceship-like too out of reach of what it is that we would ever have on it,
Yeah.
I mean, you got to understand, the reason why sport bikes usually come with all that stuff is because they need to be able to qualify for classes.
Right.
So if this bike comes with an inverted front end and radial brakes and all this shit from the jump, it's already gotten most of the shit it needs to qualify for the lesser, not a super bike class, but something smaller or whatever the case would be.
If your average rider can't relate to what they're riding, it will lose its
Well, yeah, so if Harley, like Indian has the Challenger, it's just right now there's nothing else in its category out of the dealership. Harley doesn't have a touring model that comes out with the inverted front end, radial brakes, tuned suspension already, right? So when they do, and as they write these rule books for these classes, I think that you'll see it has to happen because Harley's going to have to produce these bikes from the factory so that they can say, this is stock. You know what I mean? In a sense.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, you see, you got Steve Chamberlain, you got Tony Tucker, all these guys that are kind of putting budget-minded bikes together, and take into consideration what budget means to most people. Is I love Chamberlain's bike, being able to swap a set of wheels and he's on the track one day and he's riding to Tennessee the next, And I think a lot of people are looking for that in the real world aspects of companies producing parts where they can do that, it be reliable and not, completely rape a wallet or a checkbook. But then, take it to the track, swap a set of wheels out, a set of tires, throw the race leathers on and go rip for a weekend. Yeah,
something that can go from, traveling there, throw on a different seat, Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing. That's why I think that, like, so many people were tuned into Chamberlain, Tucker, even, like, Willie Pig, because these are people that we've all been following on social media for a while. So, like, we see them taking the step into the racing categories. These guys that are already pro racers that stepped, in a sense, down into the Harley thing or the bagger racing shit, I mean, it's cool to watch at first, but it doesn't have that same, like, I have to see this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
it's relatable. When you look at, the guys that we're pulling into a parking lot together with, parking next to, drinking beer with, it's much more relatable in that aspect.
I wish that, like, the Bagger Racing League, when they did that first race, they understood that about certain people that were at the race instead of focusing so heavy on the people that were already known. Because I feel like I don't feel like Ben Bostrom's fan base is watching him race a bagger. I just don't think so.
Right.
I think they're like, this traitor, fuck him. We like sport bikes, you know what I mean? As opposed to, like, me and all my boys were watching our friends on there, right? And most people were watching people that they know are friends or whatever. So they could have used that opportunity to really spread the love of exposure and created their own superstars in a sense, because they're already there. They just need to be in tune with what's going on in the motorcycle scene.
Yeah, like you said on earlier podcast, was using King of the Baggers as that's your premier stuff, and BRL being that kind of that AAA ball, if you want to look at it, as guys
Minor
who
league.
are getting into it, who maybe are talented on a motorcycle but really don't have that road racing experience.
You're going to have major sponsors to be able to get into Moto America.
Right.
Either you have to have a huge corporation behind you like Harley or Indian, or you're going to have have a lot of sponsors, or just daddy's got a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Sugar mama.
That too. We're all looking for those. They're not
Yes, we're looking.
But
Paul said this morning, he goes, you need a big fortune in racing to make a small one.
Right.
Yeah.
It's simple, I was like, you're 100% right.
End of the day, that's all it ever has been with racing.
I grew up racing dirt bike. You know what I mean? Couldn't afford it. I worked side jobs and stuff just to go race the county fairs on the weekend and stuff.
Yeah.
It's super expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that's what, I mean, people, I was talking to Steve about it, like he has to become like this promoter now where he's trying to get even the smallest sponsors to cover like tires or gas or, a hotel room while he's there, just whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? And it becomes that way so you can make it to the track, because it's almost like why I kind of understand why certain race teams are teams. Like I got a business manager. I just need to focus on being a better rider and focus on knowing what my bike is. And then I got my mechanic that's as in tune with the bike as I am on the ride, taking my feedback. We're making adjustments. I'm back on the track. Then you start getting guys that they start shaving seconds off their lap times because he's not thinking about the fact that, am I doing enough for my sponsor right now that gave me $100 for gas to get here? I'm just like, I got to race. You know what I mean? So I could tell that that's something that you really got to be mentally checked in on to really give it the best that you got for the most part or whatever.
And we've seen that firsthand, like with Eric here, he had 100 things going on in his brain besides the fact that he just lost all his stuff.
Yeah.
All the insurance companies were calling him, and this dude's just trying to get a bike on the track. And then, when he gets in race mode, I enjoyed watching it because he was able to shut off most of what was going on around him, get focused, and he's got a little routine.
I wonder if you can wear a Lexan while you race, just like listen to music. That'd be so sick. Like, I wonder what he's listening to, and it's like, ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? It's just going around the corners and shit. Yeah, that'd be fucking sick as hell, man.
Oh, that skateboarding song?
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm excited for it. I know that Steve's busting his ass trying to get his bike ready for that race in Sonoma, which is like, I believe, NorCal out there by the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's like the
Napa Valley,
or
something like that.
I think it is.
Fuck, man, I'd love to go up there with him. I'm kind of mad because I wanted to be the first guy that got to take him to California to ride or whatever, and it's like now he's doing it for this fucking bagger racing thing. Taking away my thunder.
Well, hopefully they learn from their first, I don't know, you say broadcast, I guess. Because, I know that most of that competition was in that 3 to 7 slot.
Yeah,
and they didn't really focus on it. But, anybody who's running anything that big should be able to adjust and understand that it got a lot of exposure and they need to do it right. I mean, that's
yeah. It's got potential, man. I don't want to be too hard on the BRL and the Fight TV broadcast because it was the first go around.
Right.
Moto America has been doing what they do, so you know what I mean. And I wouldn't say that Moto America did a great job either, considering that I wanted to see. I mean, I guess they did because there was a lot of fucking shit going on in the first three riders. With the Vance and Hines bike and the two Indian bikes. That was it was intense. But then, like I said, having friends in the racing as well, like Shred Motoco and stuff back. I don't remember what place he was in, but it's like I want to see my friend.
Yeah.
But that's just me, like not the fucking world. You know what I'm saying? But no, I think they'll get it together. I just hope that they can continue to get the sponsorships they need to run that. You know what I mean? It costs a lot of money to do. It costs a lot of money to be a racer there. It costs a lot of money for them to put on the race. I mean, these tracks aren't. Racetracks are not cheap. The people that hang out, like you want to go see a lot of Lamborghinis and shit. Go to any racetrack in the world, and there's like Ferraris and Lamborghinis. You know what I mean? That's for that world.
On a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday.
Open track day.
I remember I painted in 2016. I painted 2 helmets for this guy that just called me out of the blue. He came by the shop, dropped off 2 race helmets, and when he dropped off the race helmets, he was in a Lamborghini, a different one. And then when he came back, they had just came out with that Huracan or something like that. And so he comes up in that, and he's like, "You want to drive it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah,
For sure.
fuck, I want to drive it." So he let me roll it, and we went and had lunch, and I drove it up there, and it was fucking badass. And it's like, and this is a guy that just used to race cars, and then he raced for a small team that ran Ferraris, but now he has a Ferrari or 2 and a Lamborghini, and the dude, I mean, I there's money in that shit. You know what I mean? Especially when you get up. That's car world too. So.
Yeah.
Bike world, it's like we're the bastard children of every industry.
That's why I was asking. I'm actually hoping they do Austin, they do Coda. I mean, that's a little bit different of a track, but
Yeah.
MotoGP was just this past weekend,
Yep.
right? Wasn't it?
Yep.
So that's a great facility, but that's
It's a big track though.
that's what I'm saying. It's
It's a long track, so lots of very long straightaway. There's like 2 good straightaways on that track, I believe. On a bagger when it's like topping out at 130.
to watch those guys come into turns.
Yeah.
On skipping on their front brakes, it's blows my mind, man.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Like I said, hopefully, they get it all worked out. We get some of the racing in Texas because, while it's still kind of scarce, it's not a very, very huge deal yet. It's crazy that you guys got one here in Wisconsin. I would have never thought that, but it happened. Atlanta, I think actually Daytona is taking place next year for Moto America, so that's going to
for a
Oh,
happen
rally,
at
isn't
Daytona.
it?
Yeah, I think that could be big.
That's a
That could be
great.
If they play their cards right and market it right, that could be huge.
That's a good play to do during bike week.
Daytona's never been known for fucking the sport bike guys.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I wish there was more so they could take the fucking heat from the cops. Fucking take one for the team, man. But yeah,
That's how I go around those traffic circles.
yeah.
Knee out, run around. I really don't at all. But that's what I feel like when I watch those races.
It'd be a good time. So, y'all have done quite a bit of the 131s, I hear. Do you think you guys have done the most in the country?
No.
Do they track that type of shit, or can you track it?
I
Maybe
think Sturgis throws one in, Black Hills throws one in every bike. It seems like to me. Like if I had to put money on it, I'd say they probably have done the most.
At Sturgis?
Yeah, they prep them so they're built already.
Mhm.
And when I was there, everybody had new bike issues as far as not having enough this year, and they went through their touring so fast. I went down to see Brody, who's pinstriping down in the back,
Yeah.
and everything he was in line to pinstripe was the remaining of their touring bikes. Everything was a 131.
Wow.
So, granted, that's huge bike sale rally.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they did.
How many bikes they do this year?
I think 763. If I
Wow.
could be off by a couple, but they have broke their own record for like the last 4 years in a row. And
But it's also because no other dealerships in America pretty much had bikes.
granted,
So it's like you could go to Sturgis and get a new bike.
you know,
It's the same thing. Like a lot of companies had to put product aside to take to Sturgis because and they're out of stock, right? So, you know, just let's just say D&D. They're not, but I'm just gonna use an example. They might be out of a certain pipe, but they still have 200 of those pipes set aside for Sturgis.
right.
Right.
And I was explaining that to some people, and they're like, "Well, they should be fulfilling the back orders." I'm like, "Well, they got a $13,000 booth, and they need to make that money back, and not just be out there passing out a flyer about their exhaust."
And they're not dealing with the guy who's looking for 10% off because
They got 10,000 followers.
Right, exactly.
But
You know.
you have no choice. I mean, you think about it. You got the booth rental.
Yeah,
You travel, right? You have employees out there. It only
Place to
makes
stay.
sense to do
Yeah.
that. I mean, we bike issues for us this year were weird. Used bikes, you know, the market was nuts.
it's good right now. How long do you think this will last with used bikes being the price range that, like Road Glides? Like, I know that like 18 and up. For some reason, I haven't seen a lot of 17s like have that same price range. Actually, 19s to now it seems like the big ones, but
Well, that was your motor change. So that
Yeah.
was your 114 and up. So your 107s, they're up.
Yeah.
It's not as up. That, you know, Harley, master puppets, right? So you have, depending on how many they produce, will determine the value of your used bikes.
okay,
If you're having issues finding new bikes next year, all that does is boost your used bike market. If they flood the new bike market,
then yeah,
then
pushes
you're
the
gonna see
used.
everything drop again.
I need to stay up for one more year.
So, but to be honest, I would say we're going to see very similar values going for next year because everybody's still having, whether it's chip issues or
Yeah,
you know, raw metals or rubbers and all that stuff. Everybody's still having issues getting their hands on that stuff. So I would assume their production is going to be somewhat in line with last year.
Yeah.
Last year was just everybody's triggers. You know, everybody's scared.
Yeah.
Everybody's fear this and fear that, and you know, just push through it. You know, granted, you need to shoot to push through it, but you know, we're probably a little different here. I mean, we never closed. We stayed open.
yeah,
Got some punches in the face for it, but I think for the most part, I'd say 98%
yeah.
were happy they had somewhere to go that was open and people were being normal.
Mm.
You know, it's just
Yeah, that was a hot commodity last year, was like feeling like 19 somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, I wonder how that's gonna. You know, it's kind of awesome because if you're in the market to, you know, start over on your bike right now is a good time to sell the one you have. You know, they're giving good money on used bikes. It's hard to find new ones, so it's like unless you have a deal lined up, it's, you know, it's kind of like one of those things like me and Steve were talking about. It's like my house that is not that nice is worth a lot of money right now. So if I sold it, I can't live anywhere else because I can't really afford to. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you almost got to go rent and wait for everything to correct itself.
Yeah.
But it's I did that with my truck, man. I mean,
Yeah.
They were like, it blew my mind. I wasn't planning on trading in it.
So-
Give me all
I
my
just
money
did it
back.
too. Did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I paid $58,000 for a truck 10 months ago, sold for 67.
Yeah. They give me basically, I made money trading my truck in. I drove.
Who's the dumbass buying something right now though?
I don't know, because we ain't dumb.
Yeah, well, it's like, okay, like
Desperation.
it's dope that like you were able to. Who needs a truck that bad? They're willing to buy something that's used for $15,000 over the value of what it is when it was bought. That's just weird. You know what I mean? Like, well, you need it that bad?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, us, you know, buying from auction was motorcycles was the stupidest move anybody. I couldn't believe they were selling bikes out of auction at retail. That's before auction fees and shipping fees, and then actually seeing what the bike needed.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're going to pay $25,000 for a bike, that retails at $25,000. I'm not a math major, but I didn't see the daylight in it, and we did real well with customers, selling their stuff, because if you really, that whole fear thing, people are like, is the world really ending? I need to sell my motorcycle.
That's what it was. That freak out factor.
Yeah,
You
and they were
know?
like, well, I'll get rid of my toy.
Yeah.
And so, that was helpful to us, and people were just coming in and dumping them. And then what I noticed is when, honestly, things started to go back on the right track, those same customers were coming in, and what I could track was we were selling a lot of bikes without trade-ins. And that's the only thing I could relate it to was, well, these are all the people that dumped their bikes last year thinking that, we were going to die, which would be the last thing I did.
Yeah.
Like, I'll keep my fucking bike, I'm gonna ride,
Yeah.
But it,
Go out Sons of Anarchy style?
Right.
I would say in the
Put on more miles
past,
last year than
10 deals probably had, at every 10 deals we get 7 trades. It
Yeah.
was about 60 to 70% average, and it was like 4 out of 10. So the only factor I could find was, all right, these guys dumped their bikes last year, and just let me get some
Do you
money.
think you'll see a lot of increase this year with like the extra checks stopping and stuff? People went out and bought stuff to save this extra money.
Yeah,
Now it's like, oh shit, like the checks are stopping coming in.
yeah.
Let's get rid of this.
Shit gets real,
Yeah.
Everybody's. I think you do see that, and I think that's a lot of that market correction too.
Yeah.
When
Which
that
it will be,
happens.
yeah.
But you got, which is the hardest part. Forget buying stuff; it's trying to hire people these days.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, and to keep your unemployment, you got to put in an app or whatever it is, and you got to put something in. So we were getting 50 resumes or 50 applications just for people who just needed to do it to keep their free money. So it's like an e-commerce girl. She's like, I have all of these, but nobody wants to work. And they're doing it just to keep that extra money. Have they ever pulled that extra money yet?
I think some states have.
Yeah, I know PA did.
I mean, when that happens, shit gets real.
So apparently in Texas, because they were also doing that deal where you couldn't evict anybody. So there are people that just literally stopped paying their rent for like a year.
What was it, Monty, when he bought his place in there was a dude renting it or something, but he couldn't get him out.
Squatters' rights or whatever.
Yeah. So he literally like lived in his driveway or something for X amount of time while some dude was not paying rent in his house.
Wow.
Fucking shoot him.
Get the fuck out.
It was Twilight Zone, man.
It is kind of crazy when you see it, and the way the world has been. It's like, for the most part, it's felt pretty normal in the smaller circle of your life. But seeing it, hearing stories from people, or traveling and seeing how it's been in different areas, it really just makes it kind of uneasy. You know what I mean? Like when I was in New York, it felt normal as shit for whatever New York feels like. I did enjoy it because there wasn't as many people out, so you got to kind of run around and be a little bit more whatever. But everybody was just normal, right? But then you get on, you see the TV, or you read the fucking comments on some of the things from whatever about New York and whatever. It's fucking crazy what people are.
I try not to wormhole myself like that anymore. I mean, I had to go back in January of this year, and it was uneasy. It was spooky.
Yeah.
It was spooky to see how quick people got programmed.
Yeah.
And then I went back 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't as bad. I mean, they're still showing commercials on your vaccine passports and all this stuff.
Dude,
my brother takes out a QR code and he's like, this is what I am. I'm a QR code now, because he's got to show it where he goes. And I'm like,
that's weird.
Bonkers, man. I'm out. Like, couldn't do it.
I really hope that our state doesn't succumb to that. And but the other thing that sucks is I like to travel, so I'm hoping that it doesn't affect me. Like I don't think that they're ever going to be able to force borders within states because there's too many crossings, right? But they can get you with hotel stays, with going in places,
Yeah.
If you don't have this QR code, or this new fucking tattoo.
Yeah.
There's a concert venue by us now.
Yeah.
I think it starts next week or the following week. You have to be tested 72 hours prior and show proof when you go in there, or be fully vaccinated.
Yeah, that's how they're even doing that. They're doing that across the board with concerts, comedy shows. I think that anything in large crowds, I don't know if it's doing. I don't know if it's going to be how they're going to do with sports, because if you think football seems to get a pass for anything, right?
Yeah. There's so much money there.
There's a lot of money in that.
Here was my deal with it, because Summerfest here, which actually happened in September because it got bumped back, they were doing that, tested within 72 hours or a vaccine card. But they didn't put medical experts at the doors.
No.
Right? So that's always going to be a human factor
Yeah.
in all this. I don't know, man. It's and what we did notice last year with came May, I want to say end of April, May, when everybody had their whole month of March to, think the world was ending. I want to say right at the end of April, because we had a great May. I think everybody got fed up of being in their house or the extra money that started coming in. But we had a record May.
Yeah.
Because I think at that point, everybody was like, I'm going to buy a bike and I'm riding somewhere to get away from things.
Yeah.
Right? But I can't do it, man. I got such a bad opinion on it. I just can't do it.
Yeah, it's hard not to have an opinion about everything, but it's also like it's hard not to have an opinion about it because we have our dumbass opinion, which is like I like to call it the confidently ignorant opinion. Like I'm confident about my idea about it, but I don't really know enough, like of the whatever to be like this is what it is. You know what I mean? But it's man, it's just weird. Like I hope. I'm not like someone that's like super like I will never get a vaccine. Fuck that. But I'm also not. I don't want to. I've never done a flu shot. I mean, yeah, I got like the things that you get to go to school. You know what I mean? But from what I understand, those were like important things, like things that would kill you.
That history too. Right?
Yeah.
They did research on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was cool with those two.
So, but at the same time, it's like it's really hard to trust it when you got, you see that video of like Biden talking about, the hurricane coming and, what you guys should really do before this hurricane gets here is get vaccinated. It's just going to be really easier on you if you're vaccinated to deal with natural disasters. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
That's
like
an agenda.
The memes going around, like make sure you put your sunblock on so the guy next to you doesn't get sunburned.
Yeah.
Like, it's a belief. And I've heard horror stories, like I've lost my family member to COVID. Right?
Yeah. I lost a friend technically to COVID a month ago.
So that's where I try to keep my opinion to myself.
Yeah.
I haven't watched live TV or the news since probably after the election, just because, man, I just won't do it.
It's hard to watch right now.
I watch all the sheeple, and it's like, you know what? I've watched live football games, live UFCs, and then otherwise I'm not watching anything live. Like the guys come into the office and like, hey man, did you hear? And I'm like, no, I haven't, and I'm good. Unless you're going to tell me Trump's president again, then I'm good. But otherwise, it hasn't affected our bubble, right?
Yeah, I think that the ignorance that I feel like that I watch is, if let's say that I hate to get political on it, but like say Trump, right? Mm-hmm. He didn't win, unfortunately. Whatever, it just didn't work that way, right? The most logical thing to do for every Republican right now is to like, okay, we need to find another candidate that has those values, but a better speaker or isn't so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's other people out there that are qualified to do the same job.
I agree.
But it became a tribalism. Like, it's like we were rooting for Michael Jordan because he was the guy, right? You know what I mean? It became a team. This crazy shit. Like,
people voted for Biden because they didn't like Trump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I'll leave that alone.
Yeah, it sucks. But anyway, so motorcycles.
Helmet out of it.
Huh?
I got a pretty sweet helmet out of it.
Yeah, he got a cool little Trump helmet out
Is
of
that
it.
your helmet, the Trump helmet?
Yep.
Cool.
It caused a lot of controversy. It was crazy, man. Like just the helmet, And people were mad at me because I hashtag grabbed by the pussy. And I wanted to put that on the front of the helmet. And he said, "No, let's just do Make America Great Again." I was like, but it was just insane, man. It's crazy. But
well, the good thing is that there's freedom machines downstairs. There's freedom machines in all our garages, and that's really where we went, man. Because
I traveled more last year than I ever have in my life.
Same.
And the thing was too, like when you travel because Corona was happening, when you went to this state or this rally or whatever you did, you met some of the realest fucking people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had the same thought process. You know?
Yeah.
It wasn't well, fuck, you rode here from where?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Are you vaccinated?
yeah. Like, they-
Last year, it wouldn't have a
Where's
vaccinated.
that mask?
Yeah, tell me about your bike or
Last
whatever.
year, Sturgis was like the first real sense of freedom for
Yeah,
the year. I
it was.
Like, oh, wow, you could fucking, like, you could breathe.
Mhm.
And that's not just because of a mask. It was like, this feels like America again out
Yeah.
there. And that was, it was a great feeling. I mean, I hate the fact that we had to get to that point to go, but
Made you appreciate it more. I think that's why, people took. Not just people on bikes, man. We were going through Yellowstone, and they were talking about they had record numbers of attendees in the parks and going places and being outdoors, and that's got to be good.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, like, all it did was create more people taking pictures with the fucking, what is it, Old Faithful. You know what I mean? It's just more people posting shit online now or whatever. But I don't know. We were saying, or was it you or somebody who was saying, like, they enjoyed, like, when Facebook and Instagram was down for the other day. It's like, oh, I guess I gotta
yeah.
go.
Work all day?
Try a couple times. Like, I don't know what's going on, but,
Yeah.
did something different,
See, sometimes I feel like, fuck, I haven't posted anything in a long time. I need to post something. You know what I mean? Like, that literally is a thing that goes through my head where I feel like I need to do something on there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of awesome when nothing would work. I was like, oh, cool. That's my excuse. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just do something else,
Especially when you're trying to run a business or a brand or anything, it's like you got to stay relevant, right? And that's the most used and most exposure you're going to
Yeah.
get from like a couple clicks of your phone and done.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. It's like now you walk in places and you got families sitting at dinner tables that are literally all on their phone, not even looking at each other. You should practice. People should practice that more. Like, leave your phones in the car. And enjoy that time with your person.
Well, honestly, what I did to help myself out is I turned all my notifications off. So I do still check my phone a lot, so I didn't solve the problem, but I'm not like every time, like when it's laying here, it's just getting thing dropped down. Like, someone said this, someone said that, or comment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Message, like, to me, that's helped out, and I don't like get on there as much. And I made it to where, like, every morning when I wake up, I try not to get on for at least 2 hours after I've woken up. That way, I don't get on there and see some shit that piss me off, and then I'm like in a bad mood the rest of the day.
Yeah, ruin your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you gotta watch. Half the time I feel like I want to throw my watch across the room.
So I keep it to where honestly, I only wear it when I travel because I use it for the Google Maps while I'm traveling, because I don't do phone mounts anymore. And so, like, everything goes to my watch, so it'll just like ping you
Tell you what
when you want. I know, okay, in 2 miles it's coming up, so I'm looking for the exit, and then I've been able to travel. I did this all the way to New York and back, and then I don't like having my phone right there, because then I'm riding and you're watching the map the whole time. You're like, I'm watching the map and not seeing all this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've enjoyed that more.
That's yeah. If I shut it off, it's nonstop.
How many times you scroll through Instagram or Facebook while you're riding?
So, true story. When you leave Mitchell after Clockworks for
Yeah.
Sturgis, that long 4 or 5 hour
Straight?
nothing to look at, Netflix. There's nothing to do. Netflix is on up the road down here. I even had a FaceTime conversation with my daughter.
Wow.
Something to do.
I
It's totally
did
different.
do that last year. Actually, that stretch too.
Yeah.
I did FaceTime.
Mhm.
It was breaking up, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just long, boring. Hey,
It's so crazy how boring that ride is.
it is.
There's a couple of those in the country. Illinois is like that until you get to Chicago, and it gets interesting.
Because we come through that way.
Fucking boring.
Fucking Marion, Effingham.
Yeah.
Or coming up from like St. Louis through to Rockford too. It's the same. It's set your cruise control and hop on the back seat and chill for a couple hours.
Yeah, so I came up here. I got this 131. You guys did another one for me. J-Rock put it in pretty quick this time. You had your hands full this go around with Steve's bike, getting it ready for the Smoky Mountains this weekend. Mine, I know that Tommy said, hey, can you be here Monday? And I was like, I can be in Milwaukee Monday. I don't know if I can be at the dealership by the time you guys close, but it worked out. I got here soon enough, I guess. You were able to get some of the parts off of it, weren't you?
Yeah, it's always an adrenaline rush when you come to town. It's a mad rush. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that experience. So I don't ever want that to end. But
I'm coming. I got you.
man, it's, I don't know.
Keep
It's,
open lift.
Yep.
it's cool. I mean, like I said, the last motor was very reliable for me. I literally, it's like I feel like I'm bragging, but it's not because I'm trying to brag on this motor. You know, the trip home was a round of left here, went to New York for the Indian Larry block party, and then literally I left Indian Larry's. And I made it all the way to Memphis, which was 1,150 miles. That was the first iron butt I did on that bike in a day. And then I did an iron butt again on the way back from the down south camp out. And then I did one to California, and then one back from California. And so it's like I constantly was doing these long, we're talking like all day riding fucking on these bikes. And then I'd get to a town and then, unload the shit, go have dinner with a friend and have some drinks, and then I'm banging wheelies on this motherfucker. You know what I mean? It's like 1,000 miles today, get to the town, unload the bike, get cleaned up, and then jump back on it and treat it like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And it fucking worked. I never had any issues with it. I had 20,000 miles on it. I went through one clutch and, sold it, and that guy iron butted it all the way home to Washington. No, he had an issue with the compression release, but that's not a motor issue. That just was one of those things that happens. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I'm hoping if this one is as solid as that one was, then yeah, I'm convinced that this motor's great. Now Steve didn't have as great of an experience as I did on this motor, but it wasn't necessarily the motor's fault, in a sense.
We're gonna have better go around this time.
Yeah.
I got faith here.
Don't let that one guy touch it again.
No, right?
So I mean, you had a cam bearing fail, but
once in a 131 and once 107, 124.
okay. So but the 131 failure was because of a spacer. Is that what you said?
Was it spacing?
No, it was something with a pump or something, wasn't it?
Oh,
Come on, this is why you're here.
There was an issue. We'll just
there
leave
was
it.
there was an oil issue with oiling the cam bearing, and that just with the screwing around that you do
Yeah.
and the hooligan shit, it just
Shenanigans.
ate it.
Yeah.
So
Luckily,
I mean,
under 3,000 miles, as a matter of fact.
I'm bragging about mine. He's over here like, fuck. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. So it's it's a solid bike, solid motor, and yeah. What else can you say about it? You've got one. You did a kit though, right?
I did a bolt-on kit and I changed up some stuff, and I love it. I broke some shit, all that hooligan shit that we do. I've had belt issues where there's some are teeth, some are there, some are missing, and third gear transmission issues, and
3 miles in, right?
Two.
Or was it two?
two. There was two.
So what do
I
y'all?
haven't had any issues with
Yeah.
mine.
I guess
Yeah.
we know
Both
who.
bars are kids. You got.
I got a crate.
You got a crate, right, Alex?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but you also said you had a base tune in, so it's
I've had mine, yeah. I basically threw it in, and I was rushing J-Rock out the door the day he threw it in the dyno, just so I could go and ride that weekend, I think, and I haven't touched it since.
you really don't have to. I mean, even if you only get like a low end, like 120 range horsepower, it's still quite a bit. I mean, it's still enough. I mean, like I said, you don't necessarily want to chase these stupid high horsepower numbers, because then it becomes that drag racing thing we were talking about, where you have to buy this, all these things across the board to keep it on the road.
Right. You're kind of finding that next weakest link.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a lockup clutch. Well, now we're putting the stress on the transmission, doing a chain drive, that type of stuff. You're kind of just moving that weak part around.
Yeah.
I've got a stock compensator in mine. I just went with the heavy 1275 springs with the stock clutch pack.
Uh-huh.
I'd rather replace a compensator or a set of fiber plates and steel plates before having to pull the whole transmission out.
Yeah.
Especially right now. I mean, you
Can't find a lot of shit.
Yeah, that's 3-4 weeks of being down versus ordering a clutch pack, getting back on the road.
Well, it's a good option for people to do. I mean, I know a lot of my friends like Big Will Cody and James. These guys, they got Softails. They're getting a lot of miles on their bikes, and they're in the same boat. Where like, what do they want to do? They want to get rid of these bikes, but they've already got suspension, paint, all this shit done. Or I'm trying to tell them just buy this 131, And they do have the Softail version, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I just do that shit, and then keep your other motor, and then maybe just have that one built like when you have the money, like have a crank done, have shit like that done to it, and if you don't want to get rid of your bike or sell your bike, and hopefully you get more than it's worth or more than you put in it, and then buy something else and throw some more money at it. I hate when people act like they're done.
You're never done.
Right.
Yeah,
You're
like,
never done.
oh, once I do this, I'm done. I'm like, forever? This is it?
Till next week.
You're gonna keep this bike forever.
The
Right.
grown man Legos, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've always said. You build it, you look at it, you ride it, and you'll see something else, and
Time to change.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest thing is, you get into a bike that's got 40, 50,000 miles on it, and a guy's in a position where, what do I do next? Or I want to refresh a motor. Start with the foundation. Is making sure the crank is solid, making sure bottom end is tight, and then building from there up. Because I built a top end on a bike that had 60,000 miles on it, and the next, I don't even think it was maybe 2-3 months later, the flywheels scissored, so they shifted and weren't balanced, and that took out everything in the bottom end. So I spent $3,500 in parts on a top end doing piston cylinders, head work, bigger throttle body, bigger manifold to ride it 2 months, and then have to go all the way back down, pull flywheel, send them to Dark Horse, and get everything redone to be supporting what I built on top of it. When it should have done that in the first place, but you don't think of it. You just
It's like doing leg day, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, like I said, I didn't really know a whole lot about runouts and shit until like later on in my motorcycle wrenching career, if you will. But then once I did, I was like, oh shit, like I don't want to just buy the things that are cheap. You know what I mean? Like it's like doing a crank. It's like I know you can maybe get more power out of it, but it's like the reliability is what you're really gaining from the crank by having it trued and balanced or whatever the case it is, right? So that whatever you do on top, it holds up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But that's not a fun expense. You know what I mean?
No.
No, it's not the pretty colored oil pump and plate that you're throwing in the bike or the shiny throttle body, but we're lucky to have Dark Horse, Revolution Performance, S&S within half a day of drives. That if we need something or if we want to send something out, they're there, and
It makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, we can make it a pretty quick turnaround in the event something happens. How many flywheels have we done in the last 2-3 months? Probably 5 or 6.
6, 7, at least.
That's the one thing a lot of people just don't think about flywheels. They don't know, just like I didn't for a long time. It's not talked about quite a bit. You know what I mean, about doing your flywheels, because they assume that I only have 1,000 or 1,500 miles or 2,000 miles on the bike. The flywheels should be good, and we all know that Harley has an acceptable run out that's not really acceptable by the aftermarket, and it kind of makes, it's a bad taste in your mouth, if you will. Like I just bought a $30,000 Road Glide, and the run out's too bad for a fucking cam plate.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Especially when you're getting into with S&S and fueling, and their tolerances are that much tighter.
Yeah.
Because they have expectations on how their products perform, but you got to even start over to even get
Run
up to
it,
their
yeah.
level. Yeah.
And that's why I feel like running the 131 crate motor, or why I say the crate motor is probably the better deal. I mean, with the throttle body, with cam, ported heads. I mean, you kind of have a lot more than what you were going to get if you just did a. I got to watch when I talk because I have a sponsor, S&S, that sells a lot of this shit.
Cracks me up as you go back 7-8 years ago.
I want to break a pull stick between House of Harley and S&S and say, figure it out.
You know who's going to win.
They're me with a good time. I remember 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, there was 100 horsepower club.
Yeah.
And now we're all sitting there going 150, 160. Where can we get it? I mean,
Yeah.
back then it was taking an 88 or 96.
There was-
100. Now we're like 158.
Was it your dealership that had something that said 100 horsepower
We
club?
did a 100 horsepower club there in Austin, and
I remember
we just riding
seeing
it. It was get to 100.
Yeah.
And that's when we're coming off 96s to 103s. Now we're talking we get to 150 horsepower club.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, evolving
Quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a good time.
That dude that we talked about earlier is like 171, 182 torque.
I don't trust anything in that.
Where are you going? Next gas station?
Yeah.
But he sent me some pictures of it, man. He can't keep it on the ground, but he bought a second one from us after he built that.
Yeah.
Like,
what do you end up doing to that to get that kind of?
He sent it down to some dude in Georgia, and I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm not even going to attempt it, but it's rowdy, man. It's
very rowdy.
It's super, super rowdy. What was that button you put on it that they kept calling you about?
It was a shift light or something.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
something.
He called me up 2 weeks later. He's like, "Man, can you give me a chrome roll glide?" I said, "Yeah, what happened?" He's like, "I need one to ride." Because at that point,
That's that bike that rolls into the shop and everybody knows that there's something different. It's rumble in the walls. Paper is fucking flying off the shelves. It's just
he's running like 16s on it. I think 16-inch apes.
Hell
On
yeah.
a drag strip, bro.
Hell yeah.
it's leverage. That's
I'll
leverage.
pull it up. I'll show you.
What about like back in like the twin cam days, like with the whole Hurricane motor shit, the upgrade for the 120Rs? Did you ever do a lot of those?
No,
Was it worth a damn?
I wouldn't have done that myself.
Yeah.
No.
Because they had the 120R motor, and then it was notoriously known for running very, very hot. And then they made the 120R ST or 120 SD.
The 120 street engine, and then
Yeah.
they had the 120R.
Yeah.
So I think they lowered the compression, did something else with the street engine, trying to get,
Still got the mullet on the back.
Yeah.
trying to get away from all that heat.
I know it was scuffed the last time it was in here.
For
I know
real?
that was scuffed.
We should introduce them to our Lord and Savior T-Bar Jesus, so they'll know about how he can make that bike even cooler.
I think he has bigger things to worry about, transmissions and
Oh,
clutch
yeah.
pumps and compensators and numerous other things that he
That
calls
that
it.
stuff's got to be getting to a point where it's going to be dealt with. You know what I mean? Like, you would think there's enough people and enough people putting their heads to it that they can figure out how to make solid quality compensators and clutch systems that are going to lock and hold it but not tear everything up. Or is it just the design that's so flawed in the way a primary system works into transferring the power to the transmission that is just, no matter what you do, it's always going to be flawed? Maybe the fix is the Revolution Max motor being it's all in one case.
Mm-hmm.
The Sportsters have the same problem when you run higher horsepower on Sportsters. Do they have transmission? Do you even have a compensator and all that shit, or how does that work?
Yeah, they got a compensator, so to speak, in it.
Yeah. So do they run those kind of problems when they get high horsepower and things like that?
No, not really.
Mm.
And that's probably what we see come out of this whole racing thing.
Yeah.
Because, they're going to be pushing these bikes beyond where everybody's gone. So maybe that, fingers crossed, maybe that's where they go. Because, once tear a motor down like they were doing or swapping them like that, maybe that's what they need to figure out how to build it more solid. But, what would you guess those Lyman bikes are horsepower?
I think they have a cap, don't they, on that shit?
Do they?
It's like 131 is the biggest they can do on their bores, from what I understand. But the compression though, like that can make a lot of difference.
Yeah,
Well, and that's what they were doing. So they had those 131R motors. So those, the special setups. But what they were actually doing was pulling the higher compression pistons out of those bikes and going back to the standard 131 crate or kit
dish pistons.
What are they doing that for?
Domier than the other, right?
Yeah.
They were melting pistons. I think they had to pull a couple and rebuild a couple of them when they're out up at Road America.
There's just so much compression to these engines. It's something's gonna fail.
Their engine braking quite heavy.
Yep.
That's got to put some strain on at least the crank and all that shit. So,
And they weren't breaking third gears like I do on the street. They were breaking fifth and sixth gears on the track. So At least that's what I was told.
Yeah.
So
I don't know, man. Maybe we should just get into cars.
Electric.
I'll pass.
Don't even go there.
Yeah.
I wanted Mustang with my Instagram name on the back window.
You want an electric Mustang?
Yes,
Yeah.
because I'm fucking woke.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, the Mach E or some shit like that.
We had we have a sign, big sign out front. We were talking about this earlier. That says no motorcycle, only motorcycles past this point, and our live wire charging stations past that point. Every weekend, dude. Like, did you see the sign? Yeah, the one that says no cars. Yeah, can you get your car out of here? And they have to squeeze past this sign during business hours.
Yeah.
And I went talked to this lady. I was like, man, you can't be here with your car. And it was one of those Mustang.
For real.
He's like, it was like a SUV.
Yeah,
Right.
it looks like an SUV. I
Right.
don't get the whole Mustang angle, but how does that work? Does it cost money for them to charge?
Yeah, so you get an app and it'll show you where all the charging stations is. I'm sure there's a subscription for it.
Yeah.
So like LiveWire buyers are getting a card with it, had to sign up and get it all done.
What's it cost to fill up a live wire?
Shit, I don't know.
60 Bitcoin.
No
Which you can just get XP points as you ride.
Yeah. Like Sonic
Trade
yeah.
Be like fucking Sonic collecting rings.
Collecting the coins, like gold rings.
I wonder what it does cost to like fill up, in a sense, like electric vehicle or live wire for a charge. I mean, because I know the shit wasn't free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If engines ran on water, we'd have to pay for the water to get in. We wouldn't be able to go find free water anywhere.
Right.
So
There is. I feel like I should know it, but I'm going to keep my opinions on electric motorcycles to myself at this point. I mean, they're fast.
well, they're not Harleys anymore. So
No, Livewire Labs is what I think that they spun it off to.
Yeah.
So, and then those little electric bicycles are pretty fun.
yeah, they look fun.
Yeah.
Those cereal ones.
Yeah, for what they are, $5,000, $6,000.
fucking Sportster.
I mean, do you want a bicycle or do you want a Sportster? So
Street.
Those are going street. Watch those. That's going to be the bike in 5 years. Everybody's talking about.
Oh, we got to get our hands on those.
750s, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be. Then we have we have the Rusty Busher bike. Is it still here?
Yeah, so no. That went back. He picked that up when he came back into town last. One of our good friends, customers of ours, he bought Rusty Butcher's street 750 flat track hooligan bike.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun.
What's that? Is it Noise Cycles that did that one?
Street with like the
Dirt bike
dirt
fairings
bike.
on it. That fucker's bad looking.
Yeah.
I'd run that. I'd
For
ride
sure.
that shit. That whole dirt bike fairing cowl thing that they put on there, I'm like, hell yeah! Like if Harley would have did that, I would have bought one. Maybe.
I would think they have to come back out with an entry level bike if that's what the Sportsters are
Yeah,
now.
you would think.
I mean, I feel like that Sportster's, it's an S model, so that's technically the higher end of it, right? So you would think they're going to come out with something like that, maybe a smaller motor, different riding position, but at the same time, like that, like I said, back to what we started talking, that thing has got potential, but they just fucked themselves by putting it out that way. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, build something that encourages somebody that's not familiar with our brand. Then maybe they've ridden something similar, like a FC9 or a naked cafe style bike. Harley had that Street Fighter kind of prototype that they came up with, and then squashed that. I think that would have been, with that motor platform, how quick it is, how much horsepower it's got. I think that would have been the way to introduce that bike.
Wasn't this one supposed to be called the Bronx or some shit like that?
I don't even remember.
Because remember when they dropped all the models?
Different ways with names, and
I want to say yes.
I believe so.
Yeah. Harley No, the Harley Bronx was going to be the Street Fighter one. Remember?
Okay.
So this one has. This is basically a Pan America is basically what it was, just without all the Pan America shit. Yeah, I would rather have that, honestly. Now, like looking at it now.
Now you're competing against, the Naked Cafe guys, Ducati, Yamaha, Honda, and I think you enter that platform pretty fairly. I don't know. I haven't even ridden it yet.
It's fucking fast. It's ridiculous.
You haven't ridden the Sportster S either?
Nope.
Yeah, me neither.
Where are those bikes stock? Horsepower,
120.
Is it really?
And that's detuned compared to what you're getting out of the Pan Am. Same motor.
It's crazy.
Same engine. The difference between the Pan America and the Sportster S is they use smaller intake valves, and the VVT and the cams are a little different than the Pan America.
Shit, it's got VTEC?
Yeah, VTEC throw.
It's a fucking two-stroke.
That fucking phaser kicking in.
It's like 30 horsepower less than a Pan Am.
Yeah, 20, 30, yeah.
See, when I rode the Pan Am, I didn't ride the sport mode, so I didn't.
That's the only way I ride it.
Yeah.
I would like to try I would ride one now with the sport mode, because when I rode it, I don't know what mode my friend Larry had his on, but it was like not that.
Yeah.
Right?
Rain mode?
Yeah, I didn't find sport mode till the light right up here.
Yeah.
On the Pan Am, and it was on my way back. And then, that bike just made me want, when we had the hill out here, it just made you want to go jump shit. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just think up something, over something. That's Sportster S.
It's crazy.
It's a little rocket ship, man. A little rocket ship.
So this year coming up, we got the end of this year, we got Mama Tried with the industry party we're having here. And then you guys, what are you going to be traveling to any of the events like Daytona, things like that, or
I'll
what do you
probably
think?
make it down to Bike Week. I skipped Biketoberfest. I'm hoping to make Bike Week, and then from there, really, it's the beginning of our season, right? So we all pack up and roll out to Sturgis after that, and then shortly after Sturgis is our
Hometown rally.
And then it used to be Sturgis dealer show, then rally, which was like August was a blur. Now I think all the dealer shows are going virtual and all that stuff. But Alex does a hell of a lot more ride than I do. So does he. My time off, I jump on a plane and go back to Austin.
So when people come here to House Harley, they reach out to you guys online. Alex, you run some of the social media, right?
Yep.
And then, is that one chick still working here?
Angel is not.
Oh, okay.
No, she's not. So right now we're kind of in limbo. Alex does field most of the Instagram and the messages coming in. But no, Angel's great. She's an endurance rider. I don't know if you've seen her last month. She tried to beat a record for an iron butt.
For real?
By herself. She got on her bike, went up, around, back. I think she missed it by 17 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, she was on it, dude. Yeah, we went riding out to Lake Geneva, I want to say 2 months ago. Had a buddy with me, AJ, and we got off the bike, and he goes, "Hey, I don't know where I am out here." So she led, and AJ goes, "Hey, is there any chance we could not ride 105 miles an hour everywhere we go today?" She's just on it, on it. Good rider.
Yeah, so when people hit you guys up, they talk to, because a lot of people message on Instagram these days for quick response questions like, "Hey, can I get a 131?" Shit like that or whatever. But Tommy, you pretty much run the floor for the most part, and then I heard you got promoted.
Not
Kinda.
officially yet.
No, oh, are y'all gonna promote him or what?
To be announced.
Anyway, I just want people to know when they come in the dealership to know, Alex, where you handle what's your technical title or whatever the fuck it is.
So my technical title is Director of Parts and Service.
See? I would have never guessed that. I would have been like, so you handle that shit over there, right?
There's a fire extinguisher in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Is basically what that means. No.
So you handle parts and service, right?
Yeah, so I've got, guys like Jay who oversee the shop, guys like Brian who oversee inventory, and I feel like a floater. It's kind of wherever I'm needed in the dealership or in my two departments that I'm stepping in and helping out.
Yeah, and like I said, been very helpful for me. I know you've taken care of a lot of people that we don't have to talk about on this podcast that have made really public videos lately that you guys have helped out. But yeah, I mean, everybody that talks to me, I just tell them to hit you guys up because, you know, you guys are into the scene. You know what's going on. You stay up to the happenings on the social platforms, and you guys ride the type of bikes that we ride, except for him. He's still got 8 fingers on his shit.
Street glide too, dude.
And he's on a street glide.
But I mean, you know what? If I have one goal every day, it's to come in here and bust that stigma of what a dealership is, or that fucking dealership word that
you guys totally helped out with Steve over here when he had his mishaps with the bike on the way home from Sturgis. And you know, that's kind of the thing, is like you want to have a dealership that you know is gonna, you know, not be like, oh, we don't pick up bikes on the side of the road, you know, just whatever bullshit. Like, look, man, I need help. Hey, can you help me? You are the people that help, right?
And we're not gonna 100% say we can help everybody, but the last thing I want to do is leave somebody stranded.
Yeah.
If I can't help you, I'm gonna make sure somebody in the area can, or direct you to somebody that can. And I know we're not the only dealership in the country or the world that does what we do.
Yeah.
You know, we're one of many that do very well, but I think there's room for a lot of people out there to step up.
The reason why I like working with you guys, not to mention like me and Tommy's longer relationship, but it's just like when you travel across the country, and I know Steve can attest to this, and you want to like, hey, let's go check out this dealership, let's check them all out, you know, like it's something to do on the road, right? And sometimes you walk in these dealerships and you feel like you get transported back to like 1995, you know, and it's like these people have no clue. They don't give a shit about the type of bikes we ride, you know. It's not that they should, but when you spend so much money on your Harley and you go to a Harley, you want to feel like it's important to that Harley dealership or a Harley dealership. You know what I'm saying?
You hope that somebody
walks in and goes, dude, are those fucking so and so's bars?
Right.
Hell yeah! And that dude's like, fuck, I like it here. It's my jam.
For sure.
You know.
100%. Harley Davidson as a brand to a non-rider or somebody coming in, it's intimidating, right? That's what has got to be taken down out of dealerships, right? Because you got to welcome people in. You got to take care of them. The good thing about this place, we all ride, we all get it, right? We all want to do the best we possibly can on any given day, and we give everything to everybody in front of us, right? So it's like Alex said, the stigma of a dealership. People are walking with their boxing gloves on and their headgear, and they're like, all right, I'm going to go in there. Man, it's so much easier to go to a place you feel welcomed and know that they have the best interest. Dude, our jobs is to put motorcycles on the road, right? It's a life-changing experience. You got to be the Harley Davidson concierge to them, right?
Yeah.
Put your arm around them and show them. Those guys that don't know what they're doing. And then dealers, some will lead them down the wrong path. Yeah. Right? The money path, not the enjoyment path, right?
You want to be the dealership that, like, when you sell them the bike, they come back for. It's like, it is a lucrative thing. I want you to come back and get it serviced here or worked on here. But at the same time, I want you to want to.
Right.
Like, I don't want you to have to. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, when you buy a new Harley, they usually run you through every department. Here's so-and-so at parts. Here's so-and-so in service. Here's, this person. Here's the motor clothes, person. And it's like, I mean, the concept is in there. Like, every dealership wants to introduce you to every aspect of this dealership family. But, some dealerships just don't have the charisma or I think you said it best. We were talking once. They just don't have the personality, or the passion for it, and I don't want to bag on the dealerships in Dallas and Texas, but when, you get these car dealerships that buy these motorcycle dealerships, it takes away the enthusiasm of what buying a motorcycle is. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not authentic anymore.
Yeah.
The barn shield sitting outside of our building, it means something to us. Obviously, maybe it's got more impact to us because we know that corporate is 5 miles down the street. But so-and-so's, we see it or hear it, weekly. So-and-so just bought this dealership, and that puts them at a dozen. What are you doing? What makes you better than anybody else?
You're a number at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a number. I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago. I mean, when I was bartending, I remember people buy their drinks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a tonic, whatever it was. You know, here I could see someone and go, Red Street Glide, and then their name comes back to me even easier than it was bartending.
Yeah.
But that connection, like I talked to a customer yesterday I hadn't seen in a year and a half, and I went right up, what's up, Josh? And the dude was shocked I remember his name.
Yeah.
You know, I know what bike he has, what he's done to it, how much he rides it, and he lives an hour and 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
You know, so to have that connection with customers, and it doesn't work with all of them, right? Because a lot of them don't know how to drop their defense. After a couple thousand miles, when they come back in and they're used to it or whatever it might be, you see a different personality come out of them. But to be a rider who enjoys it and has passion for the brand, we're all, think about it, we're all sitting around this room, we're all blessed to do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Grown-ass men that get to play with grown-ass men toys.
My wife reminds me of that all the time.
Yeah.
Hey, want me to see this picture?
Yeah, I do it.
I used to say that the hardest part of my day, you know, is I had to get on a motorcycle and ride it or move it, you know. Physically, that's the hardest part of my day.
Yeah.
You know? But otherwise, it's a blessing to be able to actually do this as a career and to fulfill freedom dreams, right? That's what we're doing, you know. Perfect example, the customer we were telling you about who bought all those bikes from us, man. Mid-50s, probably early, getting into the 60s. The dude just fulfilled his dream, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. You know, you do that, you do it the right way, and everything else comes.
Mm-hmm.
You put your good foot forward. You know, it's got to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of thing. And I know people want to, like I said, now dealerships in Texas are starting to be like, hey, you know, we want to throw a performance bike night. And I'm like, you guys are 2000 and late, brother. We were doing that shit 6 years ago. You know what I mean? It's like, I really did try to work with every dealership. My last Road Glide was bought by Texas Harley Davidson. And I wouldn't say that I got fucked, but I pretty much got fucked, to be honest with you. And, you know, and then I literally went back there probably not too long ago and almost got fucked again trying to get some parts because me and the parts guy were having a pissing match of who was more knowledgeable in Harley parts.
Yeah.
And all I was trying to get was some fucking, I called you about this. I was like, hey, what are the springs? He goes, you need the 1275s. So I went to one dealership. They didn't have the clutch. Or no, they had the clutch, but they didn't have the springs. Well, this dealership had the springs. And I went there and said, hey, I just want to check and see if you guys have the clutch pack, the whole kit. I know you have this. Or I didn't say I know you have the springs, but I knew they had the springs. He goes, no, we don't have that. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just take the springs. I know you guys got those. How do you know that? Like, that's what the dude said to me. I'm like, well, I was at the other dealership, and, you know, they said that you have one in stock. And which I know sometimes it might not be that. And I'm willing to accept that. But this dude wouldn't even look. He wouldn't even fucking look. I'm like, bro, I just can you look? And he's like, I'm telling you, we don't have them. And he just didn't want to do it. So I was like, what the fuck? So I walked out and into the service department where I have a friend that works there. I said, hey, can you go pull these part number for me? He goes and pulls it right out, and I spot it through service. And I'm like, that's like, I get it. You work at a Harley dealership. You're around this shit all day long. But that part sometimes, like, you never know who's walking in your door and who's asking for what. And so if you treat everybody with the respect and the same time, and some dudes might come in and think they know everything in the world and come off super fucking, you know, just like douchey or whatever.
Cool. Awesome, man.
Just treat them the same fucking way, and you won't have that problem.
Life rule.
You know?
That's life rule. Yeah.
Let me be strong here, please.
Yeah. Let me be right and give you my money.
Yeah.
My concept.
You know, and it just, you know, it's like, it's weird, like living in a town full of dealerships that the people that work there know who our brand is and what we do for the motorcycle community, but the dealerships give two fucks.
Yeah. I mean, we got to be careful too, because the guy across the counter could be the one designing the part that we're selling them.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a total check on yourself. You don't know who you're talking to. The guy across the counter could be the guy that, you know, designed the cylinder heads for the 131 and doing the flow testing and all that stuff. So I mean, yeah, you kind of have to keep yourself in line, because you don't know who's coming through our doors. Which, I mean, we talk about that weekly. It's treat everybody with respect. I mean, gas everybody up. Make sure that they're having a good time when they come in here.
Yeah.
if a person leaves pissed off, that's just one more person that we gotta hopefully
I know.
fix.
I
One
know
more
J-Rock
relationship
doesn't
we
like
have to-
tuning my bike with my tuner. I get it.
He'll get over it.
Yeah.
We'll send him down to see Millhouse.
Another one here soon anyway.
And he probably would love it if he just had more time. You need to. If Millhouse comes up here, there's no way you're not going to want to use their tuner every time now. He's going to rub you the right way, bro. I mean, you got a Street Glide, man. It's got the apes. No.
I'll just leave that alone.
All right.
We just want to be the dealership that gives back, man.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, knowing what's going on in the industry, making the right moves, and giving back, giving the right information, giving the right product, the right guidance. You know, that's what it's all about. I mean, you know how many people I see pull up that are 6'5" on a Sporty? Where'd you get that? You know, it's just doing the right thing. I try to tell people to buy their second bike first.
Yeah.
And they look at me like I'm nuts, and then I explain it to them, and they're like, "That's a good idea." Yeah.
Do you think it's a bad, like how many people do you think come in here with the intention of buying one bike their entire life? And do you feel like you need to let them know that that's a myth?
Yeah.
If you enjoy bikes.
Yeah.
Maybe you buy one and it's not for you.
It
That's
depends
different.
it depends on the age, and that's the conversation to be had. You got to ask the right questions, get the right information, right, from a customer. You know, is it a weekend warrior, or are you going to do riding like you're doing? You know, and you got to guide them the right way. Like when I have guys that come in and go, my buddy told me to look at a Sportster. I was like, well, look at it. It's right there. Now let me show you something different and explain why. Because what I hate doing is putting somebody on a 1200 and then they're back in 5 months going, man, I outgrew this thing. Well, I already knew that was going to happen. Why wouldn't I told you in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? Let's put you on something you're going to grow into instead of out of. Right? That's the right guidance.
How many
Because-
times do people come in here with like maybe like everything's money driven, like, you know what I mean? Which I know that's an issue that we all have. Like not everybody can just walk in and buy a CVO, right? But when you get the guy that can afford it in a sense and he just doesn't want to spend that kind of money on a bike, right? Like how would you like try to help him down the right path? Because the way I look at it is like if you would buy this bike, you have a better chance of loving this lifestyle rather than buying this thing that's affordable and putting a price tag over the experience.
Yeah.
That
And
makes
then
sense.
being mad that you bought a 09 with 40,000 miles, that you're back in 10,000 miles going, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there's a balance. And again, for us on the floor, it's about asking the right questions.
Yeah.
The best salesman listens more than he talks, right? You ask the questions and listen to the information, because if it is that guy to go, man, I'm going to go from here to there on Sundays, awesome.
Yeah.
You already got it set up. You got a guy who doesn't know what type of riding he's going to do, that's a different conversation. You have a guy that's budget restrained, right? For whatever reason it might be. You just sell him what he could afford, but you're going to put him on the right bike based
In
on what
that
he's trying
price
to
range,
do,
yeah.
Right? And then you got guys that come in that are buying way out of their league, right? I ask all those questions. What type of riding are you going to do? What number Harley is this? You know what I mean? Because that's where you're gathering the rider, right? I plan on going to California and then to Maine and then back again and doing all the shit you do. Man, let's show you something. Oh, is your wife or girlfriend coming? Right?
Yeah.
Because then you're going too limited. You're riding by yourself. Let's go road glide and street glide. Really, you got to put them out on it.
Yeah.
You know, new riders are the most fragile, right? Because that decision being made can make or break their motorcycle life.
Yeah.
Right? I bought this bike, I hated it. I bought this bike, it was too heavy. I bought this bike, it was too fast, whatever it might be. So gathering the information based upon what they know at that point, because you know when you get a bike, you're like, this is what I'm gonna do. And then you start to love it, you're doing a whole bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
Gather that information, design it. And when I say design, I don't mean the bike. You're gonna design the motorcycle life for that customer. So, all right, man, you plan on going cross country, let me show you some stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Let me show you what's going to make that enjoyable. Money-wise, those are different. You have guys that come in and go, I got $8,000 to spend. it's not one of those where you're going to break them down why. You know, that's a touchy subject.
Yeah.
$8,000 to spend, kind of ride we plan on doing. Let's try to figure out what the best bike in that budget is, because I got bikes for all budgets. Now I don't have bikes for all your experiences that you don't even know you're going to have because you're going to have them when you get on that thing. You never forget the day you bought your first Harley. You don't. You remember yours?
Yeah.
Remember yours? You never forget it, right? So it's our job to not only put them
Black
on the
Road Glide.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's one of those, man. You put them on the wrong path, you lost a customer for life. So asking the questions and listening to the answers solves that problem. And you get guys that come back in that, man, it's too big for me, right? And that could be medical, 100 different reasons. But you took the information you had, you helped them make the best educated decision. I try to not make decisions based on the dollar, but what's going to make that customer the happiest and want to come back to us, right? And if you do that the right way, you have a customer for life, you have a rider for life. That's how you build riders.
You probably got a friend out of it too. If, you know, if it's the right guy and you click, that's a guy you're hollering at to go ride for the weekend.
I got my buddy AJ. I met him selling a bike. That's how it started. I mean,
Ian.
I mean, we got guys that, you know, came in as a customer with their headgear and their boxing gloves on and their defense, and now they're part of the family. Right? But that is only done correctly if you listen more than you speak. It counts. It counts. You walk in these places that are you're a number, it's gross. How much do we make on that guy? Not that we put AJ on the right bike or do we put Ian on the right bike. That's what we want. We want you on the right bike. Otherwise, we failed. You know, at that point we failed. Oh, we made some money, but he's never coming back. That's a fail. That's a complete fail. And that's what the passion in this dealership and trying to give back to the industry and the scene, that's what it's about, man. I mean, we're all not here forever. Let's have some fun, and let's do it the right way. I don't want to go home and think I put someone on the wrong bike because I made an extra $1,000 on them. That's not the right way to live.
Yeah, it's a complicated one, man, because like I said, I have conversations with friends that are, you know, they're building this one bike, and this is the only bike they're going to build, and they're like 30. And I'm like, bro, like...
Just wait.
Serious?
How many bikes have you built, Steve?
I don't know, close to 20.
Yeah.
Seriously?
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 34.
34. Close to 20 bikes. And he's had some fucking killer-ass bikes.
I ask customers all the time, how many cars can you fit in your garage? They're like, 2. How much? That's $8. They just look at me like, what? I'm like, oh, wait for it.
Yeah.
Because you'll get there, right?
If you fall in love with this stuff, then, you know, and especially, you know, I because I'm in so much of the custom world of it, that it's like it's hard to imagine just being a guy that has like 4 stock road glides, like a limited and a special and a whatever. But I get that there's lots of guys out there like that. But to me, you know, I guess because I indulge so much into motorcycles that I am gonna get bored with this, and I need to change it up. I need to or get rid of this one and start over again because I spend so much time in it. You know what I mean? As opposed to a guy who's maybe commuting to work or, you know, doing the weekend stuff. You know, they could probably be cool with this custom painted bike for the next 4 years, right? Me, I'm fucking like, I'm over that paint job in 2 months. You know?
The guys that ride to bike night and a different crowd sees it every week, it stays more fresh because they're always getting that guy that's, that's a dopest paint job I've ever seen.
It's dope. Yep, it's like going to a massage parlor.
We actually have a customer, the kid that's starting on talk his name up, and, you know, he's gonna work sideways for us.
Oh, Zach.
So Zach's about 6'3", 6'4", and I come out on the sales floor one day, and he's sitting on a nightstick, and you can't, you know, it's like, where'd my nightstick go? And I told him, I said, man, and he was just coming out of Riding Academy, and I had that exact conversation with him, dude. I was like, dude, you're gonna outgrow it.
Yeah.
He came back and bought a street bob that we had T-barred out, and all that. It fits him. He grew into the bike. Like, now he's on, it just makes more sense, man.
Yeah.
Because any other salesman who walked out, man, you like that thing? Cool. Because in their head, they're going, he's going to be back for another bike. Not if you don't put him on the right one.
Yeah, he's gonna be mad that you just signed him up for 12% APR.
Yeah, right.
This fucking
Well, I give him my
bike.
trade. I paid $8,000 for it. For, you know, like that's
Yeah.
not me morally. It's not right. You know,
Yeah.
it's just do the right thing, and that you know,
It
just,
translates into parts and service too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy that just bought stock Road Glide looking for shocks. You're not gonna, he's digging, my bike or J Rock's bike or something like that. You're not gonna sell him a set of Air Ride. Or,
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the thing too with like you guys, the customer can come in and be like, well, you have this on your bike. Why do you have that? Why do you like that?
For
You
sure.
have the experience to tell them, I ride this, I do this. This is why I've chose that. And you sell and you stand behind your stuff.
Yeah, and you're not selling 6 of the same thing to figure out what works for 'em. I'll do that because I've had 4 sets of handlebars on my bike before I figured out what I like.
Yeah.
But at least I can tell people I have this. I went to this. This is why. This is kind of what I figured out from there. I would much rather do the research than use a customer as a subject, as a test dummy.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense because, like, I've said it on this podcast many times, the most common things you see used for sale online is going to be handlebars and seats.
Right.
Like finding that combination that fits you and works well, and what works for me is not going to work for you all the time,
For real.
Some dudes just, like they like a certain thing. I was telling Steve, and I think he can attest to it as well. It's like there's some things that I do that aren't as comfortable, but they look the way I want it to look. Therefore, I run it.
Right.
So it's about a look and a style. Not everything is the most comfortable. If you made the most comfortable bike possible, then you would basically be looking at an Ultra or Limited or something like that, right? Super fat, big seat, backrest. Everything. Your arm, your elbows are bent. You're just kind of like. Are you
You're on the
at that point, are you alive?
Just chilling, right?
So, it's like they have that bike for that guy, and it's maybe at one point in my life that's going to be what I have to ride. Right now, I can be a little uncomfortable to feel a little cool. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Balance.
So,
it's all fit and function, man. And that's what Harley preaches to everybody out there: fit and function. Because you're on 2 wheels, you're in the elements. You want to be comfortable. It's a cool factor. Hell yeah. But if you can do all that in one shot,
I mean, my ass still hurts from riding here, but is there a way to? I feel like no matter what you sit on
Right.
after 1,000 miles on a trip, a day or 2 days, whatever, your ass gonna hurt. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
I don't know.
feel like I was telling you yesterday, like Legends or Owens, somebody come out with like a good spinal replacement shock because fuck,
Tapped out.
you can use that.
Yeah.
It's like going to Sturgis last year. I built a Street Glide just to take out there. Then we did the Legends on there, and it did its job, But on the bike on Goldie that you rode today, those are 14s. That thing's like riding a sofa.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything I ever put is 14s. There's just so much travel.
Also
on
goes
those
too,
things.
like when I was going on the highway, like you see like the bumps coming and stuff, you're kind of like,
Puckers.
Tense up, yeah.
dude, it's like, what? I didn't know there was a bump there. Like,
And that's what it is, man. But again, it's different for everybody. I had, my mentor who got me into business he had this inseam thing, right? Just for fit and function. Like he when he upped the customer, he talked to him and what are you, 32 inseam? Customer kind of look at my inseam for, right? But what he was doing, he was fitting him for the bike that he'd be most comfortable.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, and you pick up that stuff, you have a better chance in this business to make sure you're putting the people on the right path or right bike. And path,
Yeah.
So,
Oh, cool.
We just want to do cool shit and have cool people
Well,
swing through.
yeah, we're coming by. I mean, I'll be here for another hour or so, and then I'll be gone. Sorry.
That's all right.
All right.
you said about the industry party.
Yeah, the industry party is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun up here. So hopefully, you guys listen out here come out. If you're not following House of Harley already on Instagram, you should do so. They are a sponsor of ours, and they help us do what we do on this podcast and ride, and keep my bike dialed in, even if it is through the phone.
Gotta do what we gotta do.
So cool. Well, they can find you guys on houseofharley.com, which there's an offer code they can get. They listen to this podcast. You get up to 13% off on a lot of different things. So yeah, and that's the other thing, man. Like one of the things, like, I guess this is the best time to plug you guys as our sponsor because, you guys having the online store that has complete inventory for the most part of motorcycle parts and apparel and things like that. And who else in the world is offering a discount code for Harley Davidson parts?
That's that giving back part, bro.
Yeah.
I
mean, they cut dealer programs years ago, so a lot of us, even in my hometown, I can't walk in and get, I can get if I give them my tax ID, I can get no tax, but I can't get any kind of discount on a oil filter to anything. And so these type of things, because as much as we all use aftermarket on our bikes, there's still tons of things that we need from the OEM on our bike. And I feel like that's a great opportunity for people across the country to get on the website, find something they might need for the bike. Or, Harley's kind of stepping it up with some of their parts that they're offering. I mean, they are coming out with some Olin Screaming Eagles.
Yep.
And that should be on the website too soon, huh?
Soon as they're
Off back order.
back order. Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't help you there.
Yeah, they're going to ship somewhere.
Yeah, probably. Dude, did you see that map of all the ships that are waiting to port in America?
Yep.
And they're just,
Yeah.
it's fucking insane.
Big ass island.
That is where my rubber trim is for Simpson helmets right now, and one of those boats.
100%.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you guys check them out, houseofharley.com. If you're in the Milwaukee area, come by, say hi to these guys. Let them know you heard about them on this podcast, and have some good times.
Sure.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
As always, I would like to thank the House of Harley Davidson staff for all the hospitality they show me when I'm up there in the greater area of Milwaukee. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this podcast. We have some more stuff coming. It's been a slow last 2 months. I feel like this year's been just action-packed with a lot of events and a lot of things going across the country. And we've all been kind of catching our breath these last 2 months. So we're getting ready to ramp up podcast again. Leading into November, we got a strong week coming next week. Probably going to overload you with episodes, so look forward to that. And we're going to try to finish out this year strong with some great episodes. If you want to find out more about some stuff we've been working on, I hate to use the word backdoor because that has been kind of demonized or turned into something different. But on the back end in our Patreon, we have been working on another podcast. Something that we are trying to turn into something unique and different from this one with my good friends Jive Ass Honky and Call Me Dragon. So you guys want to find out more about that stuff and hear those unreleased episodes, plus many more unreleased episodes, you can do so by going to our Patreon, which is at patreon.com/FastLife Garage. $1 a month is all it takes to support this show, get some unreleased content, and feel better about yourself. Yes, I said it. Anyway, thank you guys for what you do, checking out these episodes and all that good stuff. So anyway, we'll be back next week with something. So until then, have a good weekend. Peace.